President Ross, we're live and ready to go.
Turn on my microphone. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this open meeting to order. This is the United Laguna Woods Mutual open meeting. It's the regular open meeting of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors of California Nonprofit Mutual Benefit Corporation. It's Tuesday, February 14th, 9:30, and we're in the boardroom. And this is the notice of the meeting and the agenda. So I'm officially calling to order. We do have a quorum, and we can begin. So first, I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd like to ask Director Blackwell to lead it, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there media today? No, I don't see it. Okay. Okay, first item is the approval of the agenda. Is there any motion to approve the agenda, or is anyone against anything on the agenda? Okay, hearing nothing. Well, we're not member comments yet, so.
No, I want the agenda.
No, it's not member comments. It's, no, no, no. So approval of the meeting minutes, item number 5. The January 20th, 2023 regular open session, or January 26, 2023 agenda prep meeting. Any changes to those items? Hearing none, those are approved. And so I'd like to report from the chair and about a couple things. So first, I wanted to welcome everyone to our meeting, and I encourage everyone to come back to our meetings, because you're going to see they are professionally, and try to do professionally and keep to good decorum. And in order to do that, I set certain rules, and they're based on Robert's rules, to try to keep decorum and try to keep from having people personally attacking each other or debating each other, or any kind of items that are non-professional. And we like to keep this in a very professional mode and decorum. And so I would like to welcome anyone who would like to join us for these meetings. And in addition, we have 2 open positions that I wanted to remind you about. One is with our representatives from VMS. The deadline for that is February 17th. The selection of a candidate, this would be a United candidate representing United on VMS board, is February 23rd. And actually, the selection will be on February 23rd. And then there's a second opening for a United director position, and that's going to go out, or that went out on e-blast on February 10th, and then again on the 17th. And on March 3rd, they close that, and then on March 10th, our board will vote for a new director. So that's kind of those two items. I also wanted to announce two things that I'm very proud of, and these are big accomplishments. And I wanted to announce one of the items is that, as all of you know, our investments were in very, very risky type securities up until recently. And in November, our board voted to change that, change our financial advisor. And after hearing from a lot of professional advice from a lot of different people, including our new director, Allison Bach, who helped us with that decision and was led by Azar Ascari. So I wanted to thank them. But basically, we changed our financial advisor, we changed our investments because we were losing money and we needed to build a recovery plan, which we did. And in November, we started that, and we're already well underway with recovering. And within the next 2.5 years, we should be fully recovered. So I'm very proud of that accomplishment. And then the second thing, second big accomplishment, which is going to save us millions of dollars, came up yesterday in an all-boards meeting. And this was regarding Building E, which is a project that's been on the budget by GRF for several years. And it's a building that is in our warehouse area. Anyway, the building itself is in very bad condition and needed to be replaced. And so as a result of a decision that was made several months ago when it was brought before all the boards to make a decision to go ahead and build a new building, which would have cost $6 million. The decision was made, the boards voted against going ahead with it. But what we came up with instead was a plan to find new space for the employees in Building E that we officially kicked off yesterday, and that they will be able to rent space from us or from the landlord, and they will have a place to work that's safe for them. And additionally, we hired a consultant that will look around our community and will find available space for the employees to relocate. So we identified two plans, and this was a result of very good ideas from our board, including from Mary Simon, who came up with some great ideas, and so I wanted to thank her. But basically, we came up with the plan, and Third did as well, GRF did as well, and we came together and we initiated that plan yesterday. And that plan goes into effect effectively now, and it will save millions of dollars because we're not building that building. So we're going to this alternative. So those are two that recently that shows that the boards are really working behind the scenes to save a lot of money, and boards and staff together came together and put this project in motion. So I wanted to thank all of our board members for contributing to both of those big accomplishments. And I'm looking forward to continuing to come up with other big accomplishments in the future. So working with our board members and staff. So with that, I wanted to continue. So item number 7 is a discussion of social services. Do we have someone who can speak to that?
Yes, we have Susan McInerney,
Susan.
our division manager.
Okay.
Hi, how
Hi,
are you?
Susan.
I think Paul's going to put up a PowerPoint. So I'm Susan McInerney. I'm the head of social services, the manager. And thank you for inviting me to come talk a little bit about what we do. I know a lot of you are familiar with what we do, but we've been have a couple new programs and projects that we're working on. So, like I said, I'm Susan. I've been part of Laguna Woods since 2007, on and off. So I've been here for a while as PCM and then switched over. Always been part, I started as an intern through when I was getting my graduate degree and never left. So I've been here for a while. Our mission in social services is to help Laguna Woods residents maintain independence and enhance their quality of life. That's our mission statement. We keep it generally vague because there's a lot that we do that encompasses that mission. And we've been a part of the village since 1972. Right now, currently, we have 5 social workers, which are LCSWs or MSWs. Licensed clinical social workers are master's level. Once we're licensed, we are therapists, essentially. So we do provide therapy services. We have an internship program that we work with through Cal State Long Beach, as well Fullerton and Dominguez Hills, as well as USC. That's typically, we get in, just like how I started, we get an intern that comes in and we do a whole year program where they're working with residents under my supervision. We have amazing administrative staff that takes the volume of calls and intakes that we have, and then we assign them to social workers. Next slide. So this is, in a nutshell, what we do. Can you all see that? There's quite a bit. We do a lot of assessments, resources and referrals. We do support groups, educational seminars. We do a lot of long and short-term care planning, and that's essentially looking at where you are, where you want to be, where if you want to age in place, and what is needed to get you in that the right direction, including making sure you have your power of attorney in place, that you have a caregiver if needed, that you have the funds to support what you want to do. We do counseling. We are licensed therapists. We have a social isolation prevention program, which is in conjunction with the Council on Aging. And we have a cognitive health program. We do a lot of cognitive screening. People will come in and want to do essentially a mini mental exam to see where they're at. And then we're doing the cognitive assessments, and then based on the scoring, we're saying it's time to talk to your doctor, make an appointment with a neurologist, or if everything's good, people typically come back the next year to see if there's been a change in their cognitive status. And everything we do is confidential. So even though we are incorporated in part of VMS, we do not share this information with other departments, and we do not share it with other residents. Confidentiality is the cornerstone of social work. So what we do in our department stays within our department. Next slide. So how do we connect it? The biggest, the most common way that people are connected to our department is through security reports. So every morning, the reports are funneled into our office. Anything of an issue that pertains that might have a social services nature, we are assigning to social workers to follow up. What do you all think the biggest reason that security reports are written for? Falls. Falls are the number one. We have a massive amount of falls in the community. So with that, we are following up, doing home visits if necessary, making sure the home is safe, making sure the person is safe, and what we need to do to put parameters in. We have a fall prevention program in conjunction with UCI that we work with too. A lot of people, we get self-referrals, we get family referrals, a lot of referrals from the hospital when people are being discharged. APS, Adult Protective Services, we work very closely with APS. And of course the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department. Typically when people are coming in, meaning Sheriff's Department or Fire Department, if they see something that's concerning within the home, they call us directly and ask us to follow up. And then, of course, other VMS departments. We work very closely when we get referrals, mostly when people go into the homes and they see something that might be off or something that's going on, they call us to ask to follow up and see. And that could be as simple as it looks like this person is unable to care for themselves. It could be a hoarding situation. It could be just that they seem lonely and that they needed some additional support. So these are our stats. Can you all see these? So you can see we carry an average of 433 open cases each a month, not each, altogether a month. So we have a very high caseload. We're opening in general between 70, you can see, and 100 cases a month. And you can see here how many home visits and office visits we're doing a month. So for not that many of us, we're very busy. Our stats are very high for going out into the community. And as you can see from our phone calls, we get an average of about 600 to 700 calls a month into our department. And then on the bottom is our educational seminars and our support groups. And you can see in this for 2022, we've had about 7,000 resources that we provided in referrals to residents in Laguna Woods. And that could be meal delivery, transportation, often caregiver services is a big one, physical therapy, things like that. Any questions on this? Mm-hmm.
Your educational programs, how are they advertised?
They are advertised. We do it in a bunch of ways. We do it through What's Up in the Village, the Friday e-blast. We do it through the newspaper. We do it through flyers that we send out through the community and television. Yeah. Next slide. Oh, the foundation. So I know every time you all meet someone from the foundation comes, it's a big part of what we do to help people within the village who are in need of financial assistance. The foundation last year in 2022, we gave well over $100,000 to residents in need, and that was in the form of groceries, respite care for caregiving services, medical bills, dental bills. People get really stuck with dental bills, medical and gas cards for gas for your car. I know every time you guys meet, someone comes from the foundation. What's amazing, though, about the foundation, it's all kept confidential, and we're kind of we are the gatekeepers, essentially, for when residents come to us. We make a report to the foundation. We remove the name. We remove any identifying information. We just put a resident who is 86 years old, who is, and we give a little description and narrative, and then the board decides whether they approve it or not. So no names are ever shared between us and the foundation for who is accepting help. And that essentially is because, like we said, it's residents helping residents. So we want people to feel comfortable to come in and say they need help without knowing that it's going to be shared with others. Next slide. This program started last year. It's been an amazing program. So this book I read last year. It's Treating Later Life Depression. We've been lovingly calling it the Stanford Project because these are all clinicians that were based out of Stanford University. And after I read it, I thought, well, we need something like this in Laguna Woods. So I emailed them, and they actually emailed back, which was amazing, and they wanted to work with us. So they helped design a program for us for people in Laguna Woods. It's about 6 to 8 week program of cognitive behavioral therapy for people who are struggling with depression. It's been very effective. The scores we have seen for people in the beginning to the end have been significantly increased. And we're very pleased to have the foundation. What they did is they paid for us, our staff, to do consultations with the Stanford people, so that every month we gave case reviews and we discussed what's going on. They helped us fine-tune the program. They pulled all of the individual sessions out from their book and created the 8-week program. It's been very great. They actually, we're working in conjunction with them now to get an article published in a social work journal on how effective it's been, in hopes that other communities like ours will initiate such a program. Next slide. So the Council on Aging is part of our incorporated about 2 years ago, I think. Actually, no, I've lost track of time. Since 2018, the Council on Aging has put social workers in our department under my supervision to provide services to residents. So it was a great way to get more services to village residents without the cost of paying for more VMS staff. They help, we've increased it to 2 social workers. They work very specifically, like I said, for social isolation and mental health issues. Next slide. Last year and this year, through a grant, I don't think I wrote the grant down, but through a grant through UCI, we were able to initiate the fall prevention class, and as well as the Optimal Aging Lecture Series. The lecture series is continuing into 2023. You can see these are all the doctors that we have coming in from March until August. It's going to be at Clubhouse 7. I hope all of you can attend. The first one is going to be on next month on March 2nd, Clubhouse 7 at 2:30. It's been a great opportunity to bring in UCI physicians to talk about issues that are important to village residents. And next slide. So last year, the foundation paid for a fall prevention class. In 2023, it was covered under the grant. This is a class that has been extremely high demand. We're realizing that we have to find a way to continue it once the grant has stopped because people have such a high interest in doing it. It's a 3-week, once-a-month course that runs that has about 20 to 25 residents can take it at a time, and it's all fall prevention techniques and balance and mobility classes. It's been very effective, and people have found it to be very helpful. Typically, and the reason why we started this, like I said, was the security reports. It's hard to keep making these phone calls without giving something that can help benefit people without saying, look, we have this program. So that's why we started that. So when someone does have a fall, we have a resource in our community that we can provide. Next slide. Nope. That's it. That's me. Do you have any questions?
My question to you is that all these classes that are being offered, now the residents has to make a reservation, right?
Only for the fall prevention one.
Or the other ones?
The other one, so for the therapy services, they just have to call our office so that we can make an appointment with a social worker. For the lecture series, you just can show up. You don't have to reserve a spot.
Okay, now the fall prevention classes, in order for them to participate, attend, they have to make a reservation?
Yes.
Can they call you, or do they have to do it through the
It's
internet?
through recreation, so they would
Okay.
do it just like you would register for any class through recreation.
Well, one of the reasons I'm asking is I know that there are good percentage of our elderly population that do not have an access to internet.
Oh, they can just call.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
okay.
call recreation, you can go to Clubhouse 2, or you can do it online.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
And it
you're-
is, though, we open it up a month before the classes start, and it fills up usually within less than a day.
Okay.
It's a really high demand class.
Okay, now is that the attendance has been satisfactory?
It has been. Typically, what we have found for any program that we do, there are always about 4 or 5 people who don't show up.
Yeah.
So we overbooked it, so we say 25 knowing we're going to get 20.
Okay.
And that's just life circumstances, we understand. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I had one experience with you. When someone finds that somebody needs social help, you can always contact them and they take care. They will send their representative.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned calling recreation, but is there a number for your office?
Yes, that's my number, our number right there, 597-4267. But to register, you need to go through recreation.
Are there any plans to put the fall prevention on TV on campus?
That's a good idea. It has not been formalized yet. This is only the second session we've done it, but we're realizing from that how popular it is. So I think we're working right now, we're setting up a meeting with recreation and with the foundation to create ongoing programs after this one is over. That would be VMS, not UCI.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much. Many of them that you said I didn't know about that. Even I live here 6 years. So that says that maybe many people like me didn't know about this program. Number one, I highly recommend it. This, not just by a little bit, because e-blast is maximum 4 or 5 sentences that they write them. This program, exactly the way you said it, goes to the TV. And then everybody can hear what you are doing and offering. Because e-blast is 6 sentences maximum, and then they are just sending some. They are not giving all this behind.
Right.
That for the first time I heard today, and I appreciate greatly. That's number one. And maybe a big, like 2 pages in the Braze Village, so people knows. The most important, no matter how good you are, if people don't know what you offer, it's just amazing. Or
It
those
was-
people knows.
With the Breeze, I was surprised. The cognitive behavioral program had a 2-page spread, and within half a day since that was published, we had 12 people signed
There
up
you
for
go.
the program. I mean,
There you go.
we had to actually then stop advertising for a little bit because there's only so many of us. And then we were being more strategic on how much we could, how many cases, therapy clients we could bring on.
Actually, your example approve what I am saying.
Yeah.
That means that people don't know.
Yeah.
And another question is, briefly, Director Cash referred to that. If we notice, and we notice a few because it's coming to the board for getting fined, but we know these people might be needs help rather than put huge amount of fine on them. Is it possible that we refer to you or other people refer rather than the person called? Because some people, for one reason, I mean, how they are thinking, they might never, no matter how much you gave this information, they are not going to call you. But is there any possibility that we refer to you and somehow you find a way to talk to them and find them?
We get a lot of referrals from the boards.
Okay.
We do. There's something to keep in mind, though, when it comes to, like what you said about the fines. We can work with someone if someone wants to work with us. We're not a mandated program.
Correct.
But we do know we're not going to go into someone's environment and see something's off and just say, well, they don't want to work with me and walk away. We're not going to do that. We are mandated reporters. So if we see something is a harm to someone else, harm to themselves, self-neglect, which is the biggest referrals we make to Adult Protective Services and the Sheriff's Department, then we will do that. But as far as someone just not complying, that's when we work very closely with compliance. People's behavior sometimes is stemmed from maybe a mental health condition,
Yes.
and we do what we can to help with that. Oftentimes, we see a lot of people with cognitive decline, some sort of dementia, Alzheimer's, and we will bring in the family and talk to the power of attorney and go from there. And we've been very successful in connecting with their network, their social support, and say, hey, do you know what's going on? And they don't, and they're able to intervene and help with their loved one. That doesn't always go that way, though, and that's why I like to set that expectation that if someone is just saying, this is the way I'm going to behave and I don't want to work with anyone, we can't force someone to change.
And thank you so much. And the last comment is I asking from CEO find a way that residents receive this information. I don't know how, but you think about that.
But I do want you to know, the thing that I find amazing is we get a lot of people who say what you're saying, who, and this might mean that you didn't need our service, but the people who need our service always tend to find us. So it might, and like, as you can see from our numbers, we have a very high volume. There are the people who are in need. Because we are such a unique community, we have more gatekeepers and people putting their eyes on our residents and seeing if something is wrong. If you were out, say, in Laguna Hills or Mission Viejo, your plumber is not going to call social services. Here, they do, which is pretty phenomenal. So we do have a great kind of safety net in place, and we do get a lot of referrals based on that.
Yes, 400 compared to 18,000 people, I just times that is 2%. So it's not very high.
But if you look
compared
at the
to
mental
everyone.
health
But
statistics.
that's totally understandable.
Right, and if you look, though, at mental health certificates, percentages, it's pretty close to what were people who would, in the general population, seek mental health services.
Thank
'Cause
you.
I would love it if 100% of people did.
No,
I don't think
no.
we're in that culture yet.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Diana.
I just had a follow-up question with that, because you mentioned you get referrals from the Sheriff's Department, but you get referrals from compliance?
Yes, we work closely with compliance.
So they might alert you to a repetitive
Yes,
type of
we
situation?
have monthly meetings with compliance, and the thing is, like, we don't, we in social services cannot impede or stop the rules and regulations.
Right.
So we do a lot of education to the residents saying, I understand you're struggling with this issue A, but that doesn't stop issue B from still happening. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So really the education of this behavior, this is the consequence. What can we do to stop this?
Yeah, great.
So working more on a cognitive behavioral approach of affecting change.
Great, great, that's good. Thank you.
I'm sorry. So you have access to all their emergency information? Okay. And now, with compliance, the person who reports it does not hear back. With social services, is it the same way?
It is.
It's the same way. So
Unless the person says, so when we get a referral, we ask everyone, do you want to remain anonymous? And they'll say yes or no. It's a lot easier when someone says, it's okay to share the information, because what we have found is if I go into someone's house and say, someone was worried about you, all thought goes to, who was that? And they want to figure out who it was instead of looking at the problem. But I understand why people want to be anonymous.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a few questions, if I could. I was wondering, how large is your staff?
5 social workers.
Five.
And then 2 administrative staff. And thank you to the boards, we got approval to have 1 more social worker who we are looking to recruit right now.
And are you supported by the federal government or state government, or how are you supported by?
We are part of VMS.
VMS?
Yeah, yeah. The 2 social workers through Council on Aging are funded through their grants and put into ours, but we are part of VMS.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And last thing, I thought it was a great presentation. I was wondering if you could, we have the foundation and we have social services. Could you help us understand the basic differences between social services and the foundation? Why would someone go to the foundation? Why would someone go to social
So
services?
no one goes directly to the foundation. They go to us, and we're the gatekeepers to those funds.
I see.
So the foundation is made up of a board of residents in Laguna Woods. Anytime someone, and they collect the money, and they do all the fundraising, and they create their missions of what they're going to work on, and then they collaborate with us to provide those resources. So we are the actual workers to the programs, where they're the residents making the money. It's almost like the relationship of VMS and VMS staff, the boards and the staff, yeah.
And foundation provides a different type of services than?
They provide the money.
They provide the
They are the money, we are the programs. So yeah, they raise a lot of money, and then then they raise it also, keep in mind, it's not just internal for social services. They help other programs that benefit residents as well.
I see.
But they are the boards that raise the money. They do not work face to face. They have no direct practice with residents. That's us.
Thank you. Kesh? go ahead.
I think I don't see the ad for bequests in the Breeze. Maybe you should consider getting a half a page or something, always in the Breeze.
We typically get 2 pages every time.
You do?
Yeah, we didn't, we usually, the articles we have done have been about mental health, about the social isolation, about fall prevention. We're there, it's under social services. There are a few that we skipped solely because, like I said, we are a small staff with 18,000 residents, and sometimes I have to ease up on what I'm doing because we can't manage. And we do not have a waiting list. Anyone who needs our service gets our service, so we are a very busy department. So sometimes I have to pull back on advertising.
My question more was for putting an ad so that people know you will accept or you're set up to accept bequests after they pass away.
Oh, that's through the foundation, that's not us. Yeah,
That's
that would
not
go
you.
through the foundation. And the foundation does do that. They, I believe they also have like a half page, like you said, in the Breeze. They also, if you look right in the hallway, they have their brochures for monetary donations. But that's what's separate. That's what we don't within our department raise funds, because like I said, we are part of VMS. So that's what's amazing about it. As a social worker, a huge part of my job outside, if I was in any other reality, I'd be having to earn my keep and be asking for money. So it's nice that from my perspective, the foundation's doing that. I'm doing all the clinical work. It helps.
Susan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll wait for member comments. Wait for member. Okay.
This is related to this one.
Okay, well, you could ask when you have member comments.
Well, I have other questions. I
You
didn't-
can ask when we have member comments. Okay.
Well, is there
Thank
any
you,
rule
Susan.
that says
Thank
we
you,
cannot
Susan.
ask
Thank you.
questions anytime inside the members' comment?
Yes.
Where is the rule? Please advise.
Susan, you can.
I can go. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
It was
Susan.
wonderful to see you all. And please come. We are right down the hallway right here. If any of you have individual questions, you can just call me individually or just come into our office. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to have open forum, 3 minutes per speaker. At this time, members only may address the board of directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of this board of directors. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum. Speakers may not give their time to other people. No audio or video recording by attendees, and no rude or threatening comments. Members can attend the meeting by joining the Zoom link or call that phone number or email to have your message read during open forum. So with that, who do we have for open forum?
Our first speaker is Joe Fitzka.
Good morning, directors. Happy Valentine's Day. So have a heart. I came here for another purpose. I just want to compliment the president on his earlier comments and what the accomplishments are. About 3 years ago, I was on the GRF board. I remember voting down a situation to do $1 million improvement on the very building he was speaking to. And now, after that, I heard was a $6 million plan. I thought, oh my God, what did we do? So I'm glad you found a better solution to that. So thank you very much, and thank you for all your hard work. I've been here 10 years, and 20 years before that, I was in HOAs. I never showed up. I usually didn't have complaints. I think probably the last time I was here, I was probably on the GRF board and showed up for those types of reasons. As a resident, I think I showed up once to thank this board for helping with the situation we had where we would have an excessive expenditure on an athletic facility, and we managed to come to a happy conclusion. So I came in to thank the board. I remember there was laughter because they said, well, nobody does that. So anyway, thank you for what you do. In the future, there's some things going on I think it's important our property values and our reputation maintain itself in a very good way. And I've seen some things that concern me outside of this board, but would concern this board in some ways. And I'm just offering, if anybody is inclined to do that, to our CEO or to our president here, or if you have someone who has more legal expertise, to speak to me. I think there's some things going on in the community. Again, we live in paradise, but once in a while maybe a snake might sneak in. That would be detrimental to us, even though the people taking action are honorable, correct, and honest. So I'm just offering information that I don't think this is the appropriate forum to mention it, but I just wanted to make it available if you feel that. I think I've always been straightforward about things. In the past, I've only been involved in some things with GRF, but obviously way back to the Saving the Village games and working on the pickleball program to avoid a more expensive answer to it. So I don't know how to encourage you without saying too much, but really, it'd be a really good thing if we talk. And I think it's good also for the CEO to know what happens through the rank and file sometimes that may come in that looks differently than what it really is. So anyway, I thank you all for your service, and have a good day, and happy Valentine's Day. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Collins.
Chris Collins, 3306Q. I am so thrilled that Susan was here to represent what I have said for the last 5-6 years that I've come to these meetings. I'm from the foundation. I'm come monthly to give you an update on what we do on behalf of residents here that are experiencing temporary emergency, financial emergency. And this message today really is, it certainly dovetails with what Susan says. Our president, Marcy Scheinwald, she had written a message that was in the paper earlier. It was last month, and it was about the fact that when she goes to meet with various groups, it's always amazing how people are not clear about what that we first of all have social services here and the role of the foundation. And Susan made it really clear that the foundation, we are the ones that raise money so that they can, when they don't have a funding stream of some other way to pay for things that people need, they come to us. But it's totally, totally confidential. It's blinded, the names are blinded, and then we fund. And as Susan says, we funded $100,000 worth of different services. Plus, we contribute to Meals on Wheels, Alzheimer's, the daycare center, various things like this, and South County Outreach. We do a lot of different kinds of things. But we are the funding vehicle. But all the professional services, as Susan said, are delivered with people that are completely certified and, ready to be able to meet the needs of residents here. And so what Marcy said was that Marcy Scheinwald is the president, and she goes and speaks to groups and does various things in the community, and people don't seem to know about social services because that's the gateway. We don't have anything to do. We don't know anything about individuals receiving aid. We pay directly to the funders or to the people that are providing the services. Maybe it's hearing aids. Maybe it's fall prevention, the devices for notification. So that's really what it is. So I'm thrilled that Susan came here, and her report certainly is comprehensive in the things that are doing. What should be the takeaway is the fact that this is a really very busy department. 5 social workers and herself and a couple staff people, and they are just over there, over the top with being busy. So if you have any questions, you can call a foundation at 949-268-2246. But the thing is that you need people to get services, contact the social services, and it's right here, as she said, down the hall. So thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Harold Medense.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day, reiterating that. I'm sorry to tell you the one of the bad news. Mr. President, I'm here to beg of you on the board to see if we can do something with the services from VMS to us. And I would like to get an answer to this. Is very simple. Our dues are high, services are low. Once a year, we get the smoke alarm inspections. We don't get it anymore. Go cleaning the refrigerators and all the events and everything. We don't get it anymore. Mulch to put in the yard. We don't get it anymore. When you call for problems and you try to solve it, they try to tell you that it's your fault because you did this and did to your unit instead of finding out what's really is on. The roof used to be inspected once or twice a year. We don't get that anymore. It's very simple. We pay more, we get less services. If we could get this back with what we're paying, we wouldn't be complaining. But when you don't get what you're supposed to get and you get paid more, that's a problem. And I don't care how you divide it, how you devise it. Like some of your members have said, you have here to protect the corporation. I'm asking you to please protect us, because you're elected to protect us. Well, this is very simple. It's time to do something about it now, before it gets more complicated. Try to protect us, and you represent us. And VMS works for us, not the other way around. And intimidation doesn't work. Transparency is what we need. So sorry to be the one that brings the news on Valentine's Day. No chocolates, no nothing for you guys today, so I leave it up to you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Terry Poulette. I'm actually going to read her question on her behalf. Her question is, what is CD ladder status? Are we fully invested And what is the average interest? And that's the end of her question. The next speaker we have is Maxine McIntosh.
Like those flashy shoes he's wearing. I hope you all get to see them. Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day again. I appreciate following after the nice report from Social Services. One thing I want to point out right away, it's easy to forget that as you take care of all the business for all of us in United Mutual, you also ride oversight on GRF. You really need to be aware of what GRF is planning to do, what they're planning to spend their money on, because they have no money of their own, generally speaking. It all comes from what you allot them out of our assessments when you do the budget each year. You're deciding how much of that goes to GRF every year. And so you need to really, I hope you're practicing good oversight on how they're spending our money. And it makes it easier on them. They're not going to get into trouble when you're involved in decision making. One thing I wanted to bring up was just recently a woman knocked on my door and she was chatting a bit. She was telling me how difficult it is for an older single woman to live in the village. And I thought, gee, I would think you'd feel just the opposite. But she explained that she had no relatives, no family, no one but herself, and that she was thinking about moving from a larger home she had shared here with her husband to something smaller. And she was just overwhelmed with the idea of what to move, what to pack, what to throw away, you know, everything that's involved. And I realized, you know, in hearing her speak, it kind of like a light went on in my head. And I suddenly realized I'd heard similar phrases many times during the year. And maybe it's time to produce some kind of a packet or a little booklet that indicates some of the services that people aren't aware of. Most people know about staging if you're selling a home. You can have a professional stager come in. She has you clear out the extra stuff and present your home in its very best hindsight and for sale site. But I just learned yesterday there's also professional help available for deciding what to move. If one person is moving and just can't decide what to move, they actually come in and organize what you're moving to another location. And there are many facilities out there like that. And Social Services has information on a lot of them. But we have trouble getting through to people sometimes to make use of Social Services. And so I'm proposing some kind of a simple booklet or pamphlet that could be given to people. And a neighbor who can't get someone to come into Social Services could pick this up and put it in her mailbox, and it might be helpful. But I have heard this from quite a few people. When you're living alone, far away from everybody, things are really can be overwhelming. And it needn't be. All these services are available through Social Services and in the Globe. More people need to read those first 8 pages in the Globe each week, excuse me. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Andre Torung.
Okay, while we're passing on this information, do you want me to wait or do you want me to go ahead? Okay. So I want to know where is the apologies I requested that United provide me. 2 board members took me to and the other board members, staff, VMS staff, including our general manager, took me to the court for a restraining order. But the court dismissed this case without even listening to me. Listen to them and say, it's bogus. Okay, well, I dismissed this case. All right, so we wasted over $100,000 on this one, which is about $20 each member on this, in this community. Okay, so, and The first month after that I was told we were waiting for the script. The second month disappeared. Now it's the third month. Okay, it takes so many months, a quarter. We still haven't got any answer yet, and the case dismissed. My request dismissed. Okay, so I wanted the answer. Okay, what happened? Okay, or just disappeared. We don't want to talk about it, and you're not going to get any answer. Okay. Second thing is I want to follow up on the occupancy agreement United board member posted on the Globe. There's $9 million there. Pretty much that the surplus lost. Pretty much $120 per manor per month. If you are paying $700, you should only pay $500, $580. If this money is used as described in the occupancy agreement, okay, and the occupancy agreement states, okay, the director posted on the Globe clearly, but didn't speak that. If we look at this, the occupancy agreement I passed on to you, okay, you waive the right to receive a refund. That's what she said, okay, but she didn't read any further on that and share with us. It applied by the board of director of the mutual, and it's so in its sole discretion to reduce the anticipated expenses on the mutual as determined by the board of directors for the next succeeding fiscal year of the mutual. I've been on this board for 6 years. I don't remember ever received any request and say, we're gonna, what's the decision board need to make for the surplus? I heard a story that gave it to GRF. No, it's United money. It's not GRF's money. And board needs to make a decision, not VMS make a decision. For some reason, VMS executive decide that this is money they can spend, okay, to help out GRF. Okay, and I don't understand how come GRF is every year is under budgeted and needs to raise this money from United. So please do your job and help us find out that $9 million that
Thank you, Andre.
we need.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Any comments regarding any of the speakers?
Yes, I would like to, regarding to this investment that somebody asked, is it fully invested? Yes, it's fully invested after the board decided in November 14 to go totally out of mutual funds and goes to treasury bill. In the laddering is $2 million. It was roughly close to 14 million. And $7.2 million laddered from 3 to 24. Yes, it's correct and fully invested. The average interest rate is about roughly, because it's different from 3 months we started, goes to all the way to 24 months. The average is 4%. So I hope I answered the question for that one. And rest assured, you never see the negative again in that unrealized gain. Is always positive.
Okay, thank you. Item 9B, response to past open forum speakers. Do we have, Director Liberatore, do you have some items?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I do. And forgive me if I mispronounce your name. First is Catherine Arndt. 901Q, she requested a designated handicap parking spot close to her manor that would allow her in her vehicle to deploy her ramp without impacting her neighbor residents. The chair said that the item would be forwarded to the M&C committee, and the assistant director of operations met with the resident after the meeting, and you'll find that this is being dealt with today in our agenda packet. And then Mr. John Kiefert, 11A, has asked for details concerning the replacement of flat roofs. The director of maintenance and construction told us that the building 11 is scheduled for roof replacement with a new PVC cool roof in 2024. His new roof will include appropriate insulation as part of the replacement. Mr. Gary Kraft, Manor 224C. His building suffers from a lack of electrical service. And follow-up, he wants better communication regarding the handling of issues and better follow-up. The resolution, staff is working diligently to get all electrical work scheduled and have issues, but they do have issues with limited staff in that division. The second issue for Mr. Kraft, complained about neighbors' unregistered auto in the carport, and homeless camping in her carport was reported, but no action taken. Resolution, compliance cannot report back to on people private updates. Staff is held to strict confidentiality and cannot disclose any information concerning the disciplinary matters of another resident. Resident Andre Torn, 188B, didn't really ask a question, just asserted that the solar program was a waste of money. The response, Finance Director Stephen Harmuth responded that we actually saved on average of $270,000 due to the solar program. Further, from 2013 to 2016, we spent an average of $410,000. From 2017 to 2023, we now average $140,000, which means that we saved $270,000. Hardly a waste of money. Second, Resident Andre Torn noted the increase in assessment this year and the question why the surplus disappeared. Response, Steve Harmuth explained that there is no operating surplus. Instead, there is an operating deficit due to the increasing insurance on an annual basis. And then we had Director Manny Robledo, 280P. He just gave his personal observation regarding the solar program from a business experience preference. And his statement was duly noted and recorded with no response from staff or directors. That's all I have, Director Ross.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's my request for apology?
No.
Why is it
No.
disappeared?
That's
Why
it.
is it disappeared?
You're done. You're done.
Yeah, I know.
You're done.
So I won't get any apology
Okay.
anymore, won't even discussion?
Point of
I
order,
think
call
we
for
need
security.
to remove him.
No.
I think,
I
or,
asked, where is my request? I have a request, I have a comment, and there's no response on that.
that's it. You're done. We'll ask you to leave.
No, I'm not gonna leave, you can kick me out, okay?
Call for
So,
security.
So call
I have the right
security.
to ask questions.
Call for
If you
security.
don't wanna respond,
Yeah,
Point of
I've
order.
asked-
wasting my time.
They're coming.
Take a 5-minute
Point of
break, I would
order.
recommend.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay, thank you.
we'll move forward. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Director Khan, and he's going to be presenting the VMS Board update.
That's a tough act to follow.
Morning to the residents, and happy Valentine's Day for everybody. I'm Norm Kahn, and I'm on the VMS board representing United for the last 2 years. And I'm also currently and up till recently, I'm on the monthly operations committee with President Ross, and kind of getting more and more involved in what's going on in the community. And it's a pleasure to work with him. He's a man of action. There isn't much substantial news to report today, I'm sorry to say. Mostly due to the post-holiday seating of new directors, which, let me just try to read this. The seating of new directors and the time that it needed to bring them up to date. Many major accomplishments achieved in 2022 by VMS were outlined in the current issue of the Village Breeze, which I highly recommend everybody read. It will give us, it's currently out, it's the January-February issue, and it has a lot of information about the savings that we effected last year that will continue on into this year. On the latest events, last month, VMS held a one-year follow-up to the three-year strategic plan, which took place in March of last year. The strategic planning was a three-year program that we outlined, and the meeting was represented by all the boards, VMS department heads, and it happened again this year, last month. The last year, the managers were given specific assignments to initiate with progress monitored by KPI, which is a tracking system, or otherwise known as key performance indicators, which we are all working with. We're pleased to report that that except for a few departments, the service results have been simply outstanding. The complaints have gone way down, and the service is being handled much faster than ever before. Well, not ever before, but certainly since COVID. To be sure, of course, there are still problems, that VMS is continuing to address. The main problems that we're dealing with are staffing, which is still a very difficult problem for several departments, such as landscaping. Landscaping is run by a union. We have 200 employees in the union, and roughly for the last 18 months, the union has been unable to find us any help. Consequently, the burden of filling the landscaping jobs were left to our human resources recruiting people, and they've done an outstanding job. They've been more successful than the union, of course, but not as successful enough. We still have about 29 full-time openings to fill, or 15% of what would be our normal need. That is something that we are fighting on a weekly, monthly basis, and hopefully it'll get better, but I don't know where that goes. We're struggling, we're working overtime, we're doing whatever we have to maintain, all the land. The other major problem area is maintenance and construction. The same problem exists there as far as staffing is concerned, and that exists in most departments, particularly in damage restoration, which has a one-year backlog, and appliance replacement, which has an 18-month backlog. Those, of course, are unacceptable. At last month's operations meeting, the Director of Maintenance and Construction was authorized by President Ross to locate outside services to rapidly reduce the United Mutual portion of appliance installation backlog. The inventory that we need is currently available. It's in our warehouse, so that should be taken care of. The backlog consists of approximately 189 installations, and with outside help, we hope to have that under control in several months. Damage restoration, which is the other problem with a very heavy backlog in maintenance and construction, added another staff member that should and will reduce the backlog. That goes back quite a bit. We are, it's a department that requires training, so we can't just bring somebody in and say, move the numbers around. We have to educate them and train them. So we are looking for additional personnel to commence training and get that backlog worked down. The current figure is that by the end of this year, we should be handling the current needs. Keep in mind that while we are working on the backlog, we're also dealing with the current stuff. So we're not falling further behind, but it's tough to catch up when you're that far behind. Most of it was COVID related, unfortunately. Security. They share the same staffing problem, but to a lesser degree. It's also being fixed, and as recreation as well has the same problem. Recreation has 19 openings, primarily needed to staff the clubhouses. That's been an area of concern because that requires odd hours for people. People who are married have a problem working nights and days, and it goes back and forth. So flexibility is a problem, and we haven't been able to connect to enough people to handle the clubhouses. Although they're open, we're functioning, but that is again a troubled area. Next problem that has been dealt with and dealt with well is due to inflation, rising wages, and market competition. Some department hourly rates were seriously below market to the point that we just couldn't hire people or retain people. With the 2023 budget, most hourly rates were adjusted up to current market, particularly at the lowest level where they were the furthest behind. As a result, I'm pleased to say that we had 22 new hires in January alone, which was the most in years. However, even after the record hiring month, we still have 75 open positions throughout the community. Again, there's always some openings. 75 is approximately 10% of our work staff. We are working on that. We are making headway. Human Resources is doing a great job, but the market is what it is, and we're competing with everybody for people. The good news is VMS has its pulse on the many difficult issues that are facing the village, and it's proactively dealing with them on a daily basis. With the new budget in place and the effect of several large expense reductions, many of which can be seen once again in the village breeze that's currently out on the streets, in a few months we hope to be well up on the backlog on the curve. In addition to that, we are all hands-on to continue the high level of service that we've instituted in the last year and a half or two, and we are working on that at the same time that we're dealing with all these problems. That, my fellow board members, are all I have to say for this report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Azar?
Thank you so much. Yes, it was complete. And you mentioned about landscape, and you mentioned that it's outstanding job. Well, I said as a job, but one of the biggest complaint among the top from residents is landscape. So what you or VMS board can do a little bit address that. Many. I am receiving regularly, like weekly, 1 or 2 emails that send a picture, why this, but I don't respond to them, honestly. I don't know what to say. And that's a problem.
Well, as I stated, part of the, get some water. As I stated, the part of the problem is the union. We have a union, it's a union department.
So our landscape is bad because we have a union?
Well, the problem is that they have something to say about who we hire, and they have not been very cooperative. Fortunately, the union contract is coming up at the end of this year, and there will be negotiations in several next few months.
Okay.
But the people out there just aren't there. We just don't, we're competing with local gardeners. We're competing with companies who give them cash under the table. Young people don't care about benefits. So we're at a great disadvantage. And it isn't a matter of money. It's just a matter of, we can't get the people. They just don't exist. So we have authorized overtime. We are doing everything we can. People are coming in on times they shouldn't. We're doing emergency services, but we're dealing with the union. So our hands are somewhat tied, but we're on it. We know what's coming. We know we have to do something, and the union knows it too.
Thank you. I will respond resident like that. Thank you.
We're trying.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on, we just had an excellent report by Kurt on the statistics and the follow-up on how they're handling things and how they're doing things. If people are getting complaints, board members, they need to forward them to Kurt's office. They're doing a very good job. They're trying. It is hard. They're understaffed. And, they do have the, they can't hire more contractors, because the union does prevent that. So, I think you need to get a little more proactive in reporting the problems.
Yeah. And
Okay.
also at that meeting too, because I was at the same meeting, they are responding to clients. Our members call sometimes 3 or 4 times a week for different things, and they do respond with their requests. And as quick as they get responses from or requests from members, they have 2-man teams, he explained to us, that go out and cut the bushes or do whatever the issue is as quickly as they can. And they are a little bit understaffed, so but they do a pretty good job based on the results that we heard at this meeting yesterday.
You're right, President Ross. But we are current, and whatever has to be done immediately, the emergencies are all taken care of. We're buying out as much as we can buy out with our budget constraints. For example, instead of taking down a whole bunch of pine trees, my understanding is that they did a tremendous healing of the trees to really take them back down and make them healthy, and that's something that they've never done at that magnitude before. So we are doing a lot of things. We're pushing as hard as we can, but again, we're dealing with the union, and there's so much we can do.
Yeah, and one follow-up to Lenny's, or President Ross's comment is that if you have a ticket, that's under 30 minutes, they send out this 2-man crew, so those things can be handled quickly. If it is something that's going to take time, they're trying to let you know how long it's going to take, when they're going to get to it, if it's on the schedule already. So they want to hear from you if you've got a problem, and they'll let you know where you stand, and if it's something that can be taken care of right away, they will.
Yeah, well, Kurt Wyman has done an incredible job. He is a major asset of this community, and we give him all the cooperation and help and assistance we can, and we will continue to do that. He is an outstanding director, and he works his team well. He knows what he's doing. He's an expert at what he does, and we're just thrilled to have him on board, and the rest of the village should be as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was also in the meeting that where we had a Kurt's excellent presentation yesterday. We also discussed there are tickets or phone calls that are being lost in the process. So some people get very, very frustrated because they don't get a follow-up. And they are aware of the situation. However, as a directors, when we get all these complaints, I usually check it up. But first of all, I would always encourage them to create a ticket. So we would have a ticket number. And we can follow up as well to help them to reduce their frustration. And some, we can be part of the solution as well. And I'm sure in the future, VMS will have plans to cut down on this communication. I think a lot of it is a communication problem. So you're waiting on one side, and landscape does not know that it's being lost. and, you know, amount of tickets that they deal with, those things those things are going to happen. However, as a board, we can be part of the solution. We can also help them to follow up on their communication. Sometimes they don't get the response because it just takes 3-4 months because they're backlogged. But then as long as the residents are informed, they are backlogged. And, you know, and that's a communication. So I think getting a response is number one key, and we can also help them and work together. But overall, I was very impressed at Kurt's presentation yesterday, and I think they are doing the best with what they have.
Yeah, we're short.
And I appreciate
we're short.
it.
There are almost 30 people, and
I know.
that's
Yes.
15% of our staff.
Yes.
And you know, residents have to understand that, and some of them don't.
Yes.
They've called 3 or 4 or 5 times for something. We've had calls in the rain that they wanted service in the rain.
Yep.
I mean, come on. I mean, we're dealing with fire sometimes, and we can't just stop what we're doing. But we are doing a great job, and Kurt Wyman is doing a spectacular job. It will even itself out. Hopefully, the labor market will change, and hopefully, with a new union contract, that might open up more doors to have more people come on. So it all depends on where we go with this by the end of the year.
I think we need to always remember, too, about expectations, and that you pay enough money, you can get anything you want. But we have to balance a budget and have to keep those expectations within a reason for our membership and everything. So even though it's not a perfect landscape out there, we got water reduction, we got staff shortages and everything, it's important that we make sure we use our dollars for the infrastructure we need so we don't end up in other situations where there's not the proper amounts going to the things that are needed the most. And I'd just like to say I appreciate the landscape here. I think it's very good, not perfect. And I personally don't want to pay for perfect. I want to pay for reasonable. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind is a balance between what we need done and the cost of it and everything. So I do appreciate the service, and there's always ways to improve. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We stretch that budget about as far as we can. We push it as hard as we can, but you know, so many dollars are so many dollars.
So one thing I wanted to bring up is that Kurt did say he just hired 3 staff members, I believe it is, right? 3 staff members, and that's amazing because it's been hard to get them. So
Yeah, well, the market's loosening up a little bit, and maybe coming towards summer, it might even get better. So we're hoping for the best, but we're out there fighting and struggling, and you know, we're doing the best we can to get people.
Good, thank you.
I was just going to say we should probably wrap up this conversation. Your morning's.
And as a wrapping, I should say, everybody should understand that residents, mostly, they come to the directors at the end. If they are going to the resident service, they have the ticket. When they are not following up with that, that's at the end of frustration, their email to us. We are not the first person that they are coming, hey, I opened a ticket yesterday. So when I am saying, when I receive email, I know it's already in the process. And they said they don't get the response, and then they call to us. And that's the comment that they said, you have to send it to they already knows. Yeah. They already knows the problem. Yeah. So I don't need to send that one to the landscape department when the ticket is right there. But as Pearl says, it's just need a little bit more communication, and sometimes it goes down. The great example is my unit is in front of the slope, and our neighbors for 2 years asked for cleaning until I directly goes to the room of Mr. Kurt. That didn't get cleaned. So what do you want more than this example?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Okay, item number, thank
Pearl,
you.
Pearl had a question, though.
Oh,
one thing. Pearl.
I think,
Meg, go ahead.
Siobhan, do you have something to say?
No, I was just going to encourage anyone who has resident concerns to pass them on to me, Carlos, and Catherine. They will be expedited as appropriately. And I really think we should bring this conversation to
Yeah, which we are.
Okay.
Thank you, Norm. Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Come on, this is CEO report.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I know you've had a long morning of presentations. I did want to bring up the budget schedule for 2024 on the screen so everybody can see it. The budget schedule kicks off in March, where we review departmental service levels for the current year, and we review landscape and maintenance service levels for the current year. So those meetings for United are March 20th, March 23rd, and March 29th. Then we move into the preparation of the 2024 budget. There is a maintenance review on Tuesday, May 30th, and the landscape review on Wednesday, May 31st. The initial business plan review will occur on Thursday, July 13th. The business plan review that is televised occurs on Wednesday, August 9th, followed by the tentative schedule for business plan adoption at your regular board meeting on Tuesday, September 12th. All these meetings are in the boardroom, and this schedule will be shared throughout the community so everyone has it. But I just wanted you to get your initial dates so you know what to expect for the 2024 business plan. Very briefly, Director Khan talked about the VMS strategic plan update, which members of this board participated in. I just wanted to emphasize that the 3-year goals that we are working toward are to attract, develop, and retain high-quality staff, working with the boards to maintain fiscal stability and the longevity of the village, provide excellent customer service, and facilitate operational excellence and sustainability. And to support these 3-year goals, we have 6-month strategic objectives or action items that each of the departments will be working on collectively to help bring these goals to fruition. And again, I want to thank those board members who participated in this effort. And lastly, I want to ask everyone to join me in thanking the Laguna Woods Arts Association for the newly installed art exhibit. Many of those pieces are in this room. There are more than 150 pieces of artwork displayed among the first floor and third floor hallways and alcoves of the community center. And underneath each picture or beside each picture is a placard that features the artist's name, artwork title, medium, dimensions, and price of the artwork. And then residents are also encouraged to vote for their favorite piece. I've seen many residents walking through, enjoying the artwork. During the month of February, residents can pick up a ballot from the concierge desk and vote for their favorite artwork. The winner will be announced in What's Up in the Village on Friday, March 3rd, and during the Laguna Woods Arts Association reception. And again, we really want to thank the artists who brighten our day every day, and I'm sure those board members who view the art also appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you show that chart for the budget calendar again?
Oh, sure.
I wanted to be sure that these are all open meetings, and they're all open to our residents or members to attend. And so I just wanted to make everyone aware of that, everyone that's watching, aware that you're welcome to attend these meetings. These meetings will determine our assessments for 2024, so they're very important, and we welcome anyone that would like to attend. I'd like to add that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Siobhan. Okay, next is consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board by one motion. In the event that an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such items shall be the subject of further discussion and action by the board. Is there any objections to any items on the consent calendar?
I move to accept all at once.
Okay, is there a second? Okay. We don't need to vote, right? We just,
If you can ask if there is any objection?
any objections? Pearl?
I think Maggie had a question. She had her hands on.
Oh, that was earlier. I'll deal with it later. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. With no objections, then the consent calendar is approved. Okay, item number 13, committee assignments. Yeah.
Well, I just have some questions or problems with committee assignments.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about, let me explain. Let me do a little introduction on the committee assignments. So let's go to the page, committee assignments, which is 13A. Okay, so I want to kind of explain what I came up with. And one of the things that I wanted to do was give our newest director some more committee assignments. That's Allison Bach. Secondly, there was a replacement for Reza, Reza has officially resigned from our director position, and that's why we're going ahead and replacing him. So finding more committee assignments for Allison, replacing Reza with our existing directors. And what I tried to come up with was an average for United directors of 2 to 3 committees per director, and for GRF, 3 to 4 positions per director. I tried not to change many of, or very few of the current positions that you're currently on, as few as possible. And therefore, with those things in mind, I came up with this proposal. And so let's discuss it.
Because you have to make a motion before any discussion, I'll move to accept the recommendation. And if we can second, then discuss and then change it.
Okay, so you make a motion to...
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept the recommended committee members as is.
Okay,
And then
I'll second it.
Okay.
And so
Now
now we
discuss,
discuss.
and then-
Okay, Diane.
So I noticed I was taken off a committee for GRF. And that's a committee I was on since inception. So I have an argument with that, that Mary Simon was added to that. Now, Mary Simon has 3 united committees. I mean, committees. We're not talking about ad hoc. We're talking about committees. And she also has, she's also on the Maintenance and Construction Committee, which she is not on the Maintenance and Construction Committee for GRF, which I think that's kind of a mistake. I mean, I know Allison is put on it, but I think she has this expertise in that area, and she is on the Maintenance and Construction Committee for United.
Right.
So I object to being taken off and also, Mary or whoever, I was on some committees that I was taken off of and replaced with Mary, which I felt I was very contributing on Governing Documents Committee. I was taken off that. Mary Simon was added to that. And so I do resent this placement of me on the information technology. I mean, it's a committee that meets not every week, but a few times. It is ad hoc. And, there's a lot going on. I can't contribute. I'm not a consultant. I mean, I can listen, what's happening. They're having 90 meetings with staff. They're moving along, planning on implementing in May. So
you prefer to go back on information
Yeah.
technology? Okay, so that's fine. I'll put you back on information technology. Oh, okay, you don't mind being pulled off of that?
I don't mind being removed from any.
All right. We'll remove Tom from information technology and replace Tom with Diane. Put Diane back on. Okay. Any other requests? Or Tony, sure.
Yeah, Director, Chairman Ross, this maintenance and construction, you've got two new people on there. You have somebody on there that's got some experience.
Like who?
I don't know, you name them, but there's two people there that they're just got elevated to director. What do they know about maintenance and construction?
Can I respond to that
No.
one?
You don't have the chair.
Yeah.
I've got the chair
Yes,
right now.
I know.
All right,
No.
all right. So we're
Everybody
not going to
can
debate.
talk.
We're not going to
Oh, yeah.
debate. Okay. All right, it's your opinion. That's fine.
The question is, every year new members comes. When Pearl comes last year was in, I don't know, 8, 9 committee. So people putting in the committee based on their backgrounds. And I think when they are talking about maintenance and construction, you're talking about a Golden Fund or a GRF, or you're talking about United. If you're talking about United Maintenance and Construction, because Mary is engineer, and so based on that, we just were in that position. It's not because of the person's background.
So Mary has been waiting, so let's
Mary
Mary,
talk.
can you hear us?
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Speak up louder.
So, as far as documents, what Diane said, that's fine, Diane. If for me, going off documents is fine. But on maintenance and construction, Tony, I in my career as an engineer, as a plant engineer, I've been involved in a lot of construction. So if you have a concern about that, I would like you to understand that I do have experience in it. And being put on the GRF MNC and the United's MNC kind of makes sense in that they are interconnected. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, so, okay. Let's let Pearl go. Yeah.
Lenny, also, Mary has attended maintenance committee at least 2 or 3 times before. I mean, past meetings, so she's not brand new.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
So Mary just gave up her spot for governing documents. I'd like to get back on that.
So.
Oh, wait, let's talk one at a time. One at a time. So governing documents. Oh, is that what Mary suggested? She was
Yes.
taking off.
Yeah.
Okay. Bizarre. Okay, so Diane, back on governing documents. Don't want to overload people with too many committees. That's the whole idea.
So hold on. Can I say something? If Diane wants to add up one here, one there, and all of a sudden become like last year that one person get lots of and other not.
Mary, 2, and me too.
No.
Mary, 2, and me too. Committees, Mary, 2, and me too. I can be on 2 committees.
Okay, can you be polite and professional?
Okay,
That's
we're not,
all it
we're
is.
not debating. We're not debating.
Excuse me.
We're not debating.
This is about the 7th time I've raised my hand.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you so much on this one, okay? If Allison takes my place on broadband ad hoc, that committee has been going on for a year. You will have a whole lot of stuff that you must read, okay? I'm sure you're capable of doing it. So, but it is a really very good committee, but you will receive a fat package. Just be prepared for it. Okay. And one other thing I'd like to suggest is that we are very careful about putting 2 people on a GRF committee who have never been on GRF committee before. GRF committees, like all our committees, go from year to year to year. We don't stop and then begin a whole process. So we're in mid-process for every, especially GRF committee, and they don't meet very often. So it is truly, truly, truly important for each director to read up on the committee, if it's the first time they're going to be there, to follow the agenda. We always have the staff reports first, and then we have the discussion on the staff reports. We do not have questions on the staff reports before the staff has given the reports. We need to prepare ourselves and read the agenda package.
Point of order, yeah. It's talking.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's, any other changes with
Yes,
No,
I
but
would just say.
I would like to say that this is the first time I've had a chance to speak all meeting. And so I want to be heard. I am serious about that. There was a disaster in the committee last week because four directors, all well-intended, all bright, 4 new directors to the committee knew nothing about the committee.
Okay, we're not debating, we're trying to come up with committee assignments.
Point of information.
Okay, so I'm
Is that not a valid point for everybody to consider?
Listen. This discussion is about committee assignments, not lecturing people on how they should listen or how they should take notes or anything like that. So if you want to stay on focus, we're talking about committee assignments, okay?
Yes.
If you have a decision which you want to be on a committee or you don't want to be on a committee, this is the time to discuss.
No, I just want to say this is committee assignments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a request. Since if Mary wants to get out of the government document and Tom already give one of his position, Tom should be on that one. Because in that time, it doesn't matter. The adding is matter. We are not debating. We're not debating.
You're not running the show.
We are not debating.
We're not debating. Okay, do you have an idea?
I suggested Tom being governing document.
No,
Please
come
do
on,
that
you
since-
know what you're trying
Can
to
we
do.
please
You want to get it all
our
under
hands, can
control.
I please ask that we raise our hands to speak and be recognized by the president?
Yeah, please raise your hand to speak and I'll recognize you. Okay, Tom, please go ahead.
I make the amended motion that on the United Governing Documents Review Committee, we add Diane Casey on there and remove Mary Simon, that we, on the GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee, that we amend that to leave Mary Simon on that, and that on the Information Technology Advisory Committee, we remove Thomas Tuning and add Diane Casey back in.
Thank you.
I think Allison.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Did staff get all those changes? Okay, you got it, okay. So, just so we have it, so the changes were governing documents, Mary Simon is off, Diane Casey is on. And that's it for United.
Yeah.
And then GRF,
Maintenance and construction.
maintenance and construction, Mary Simons is on GRF, maintenance and construction.
Information technology on the back.
With GRF, there's only 2. So who's taken off of GRF, maintenance and construction? Is Allison?
I'll be glad to go.
We didn't take anybody off.
Because you could only have 2, right?
Right.
Okay, so Allison would, is that
And then
okay?
have it as
Allison
an
says
alternate.
she's gonna go.
Okay.
Allison, take it
So
off.
Allison's off of GRF maintenance and construction. Mary Simon is back on. Okay, and what was the other one?
Information.
Information technology, Diane Casey is on, and Tom is off.
No, yeah, Mary's on.
And Mary's on. Okay, and Tony, did you have a request?
President Ross, I'd like to request that staff, when they get this, if they could put it in my mailbox, because my short-term memory is not good anymore.
Okay. Thank you. Next item. 14B, entertain a motion to approve supplemental appropriation for United Turf Reduction Projects.
14A
You skipped 13.
13B.
Oh, I skipped,
or 13B?
no, I'm sorry, 13B, I skipped one. Skipped two. 13B, entertain a motion to rescind Resolution 12273, Interboard Anti-Harassment, Anti-Abuse, Anti-Intimidation Policy, and Formation of Joint Hearing Body. So this is 13B.
I moved the motion for rescind.
So here I'm going to need some help from staff on this. So I know there's been a lot of changes in the anti-harassment policy, and that the last change that we had directed staff to do was to have our own anti-harassment policy.
Yes.
And so
Yes,
I
that's
just
what it
want to
was.
be sure we're voting for that when we vote for this.
So this rescinds the joint hearing body that you approved on November 8th. If you'll remember, you approved it with the assumption that Third was also going to be part of it.
That's right.
We brought it back once Third elected not to be part of it, and you turned it down. So we need to rescind that November 8th resolution.
I see.
And then item 14G on your agenda is the standalone anti-harassment policy as reviewed by legal counsel to make sure all applicable laws are reflected in that policy.
So we need to cancel or approve the November 8th, rescind the November 8th, and approve the new policy, which is 14G.
Yeah, that is correct.
I second Czar's motion.
Second, okay.
So what was your motion?
To accept this rescind and then second it, so if there is any objection.
Okay, is there any objection?
No, okay.
Okay, so 14G is.
13B.
13B is approved. Okay. Okay. 14A, Town Hall. So at the January 13th Town Hall, Diane did a great job on moderating it, and I think there's some slides, or there's some in the package. There's some presentation material that's part of 14A. I think it's included. Do you want to talk about the town hall from January? There's,
That's ours. That's ours.
Oh, because ours is January.
no, January.
No, mine is January.
Yours is January. Yeah, yours was State Farm agent, right?
Yeah.
Chase Douglas.
Well, it was wonderful.
Yeah,
I think what really helps too is on the flyer, I put on there if you want to reserve a seat. So then we knew, that there was a big response, and they set up 130 chairs, for that. And it filled up, and it was an excellent presentation. The presenter, who knows Laguna Woods as far as insurance and the HO6 policies, and he stayed there for the 2 hours and answered every question, and they weren't repetitive. They were questions, genuine questions that they wanted answers to, and I just thought it was excellent. Tom was great and helping out, and it was really good. The facility was great, and it was calm and very informative. And I just spoke to Dan, who recommended him because he says he knows the community. And, Dan said that, he got some good comments about it.
I think that the HO6 policy, which he recommended, very important for people that spend a lot of money in upgrading their properties, because if there's damage due to leaks or damage due to spills and moisture intrusion, all these kind of damages could cost tens of thousands of dollars of damage to their upgraded property. And this insurance, HO6, picks up a lot of that damage and for those residents. And that's why it was very good presentation. He did a good job doing that, but
I'll
it's
give you
very
a
important.
little example is, I put in a tub upstairs that was replacing my other tub, and I had a leak downstairs in the downstairs bathroom, and, VMS came in, took the walls out, looked and saw that it could be from my tub. And so then I had to go get people to fix it. And so later on, when it was determined, they put the drywall back up, VMS fixed it all up and painted it and did all that. And then later, I had a claim, because it was my tub. And so, I submitted it to my HO6 policy, and it was like $2,600. I mean, I had a $1,000 deductible, but they had no problem. In fact, you know what they said? State Farm said, that's a very inexpensive repair for that kind of a repair. So
That's good. It saved you some money, though.
Yeah, so VMS is very reasonable,
Thank you.
Thanks.
And then the other town hall, which just happened, February 10th, was moderated by Azar on roof maintenance. So Azar, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it was a great presentation. The speaker that I invited was from a Lenter company that are very familiar with here. Since 1990, they have been with us. So they knew, as he said, I know every roof of this community. Lots of questions raise up, especially 2-3 people has lots of problem that they explain, but still people were unfamiliar what is covered, what is not. And that's what I am asking again, VMS, somehow put a cheat sheet or in the website or somewhere that people knows what is responsibility of them regarding to the roof if something happened, and what is responsibility of the VMS. Because one resident, after he explained that we are cleaning the roof, she was just shaking her head and says, just I paid someone to come and clean my roof. I didn't know that VMS doing. And I understand the response is going to be, we send all of them in the package first in the residence, but we all knows, and we are 55 plus, we forget it, and then it's need to be reminded. Just every time that I say something, it says, oh, it's in the package that sends once when you buy it. I don't know where is that package even in my house right now when I bought 6 years ago. So it's not, that's the response and we need. And I wanted to bring, because I promised some of them to bring Nancy from 669N. Still, this is after for a roof. Wants the bigger numbers on the building, and it's very hard for people to see. It started apparently a few months ago, and based on a few years ago, based on other person that says constant gutter issue for 5 years. A section has been replaced and still have issue. So this stuff needs because problem. Another important things that one resident says, you send VMS send all of this information to owner. I am a renter, and I don't even receive the e-blast because the email goes to the owner. Owner is in the New York. And all of this information is activity for the residents. So I am highly recommended a program comes, I don't know how, that a renter get information even regarding to cleaning the roof or something, because it's renter, not the owner. I know information, I pass it to the VMS.
If I could interrupt, anyone can sign up for the e-blast, anyone. It's not limited to members only.
Yes, and that's why I sent the email to Alice actually yesterday, and she mentioned that even that must be information. They didn't know that there is a email address that they have to send, and that must be kind of for giving those email address to people. So that was something considering passing information to renter.
Lenny, I just have one comment. Yeah, I thought that was an excellent presentation, by Lecter Roofing. Really informative. I have a really good roof. It's on a Seville. It doesn't seem to be so problematic. But, I think those kind of, that information is really good for people to understand. And maybe he could even write something in the breeze. I don't know. I mean, the fellow who spoke was excellent. He knows our community.
Very knowledgeable guy. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to let you know that what I like about Lettner, I don't know the quality. I'm sure the quality is acceptable, but when you hire a contractor, sometimes in their bid, they charge you portal to portal from when they leave their yard to when they go back. In our case, Lettner camps right alongside a garden plot too, so that's one thing I like about Lettner.
One of the things that came up was, and one of the recommendations that came up, or suggestions, was that when you're going to do roof inspections, there's probably a list of properties that are going to be inspected, whether it be the next 6 months or the next 3 months. And the residents were asking, couldn't they get a copy if they're on the list that they're going to be inspected in the next 6 months, so that there's some awareness that it's coming, that their inspection is going to happen. And so that was one of the interesting, and that information should be available. And then the other thing was the complaint or concern about gutter cleaning, that it's not done often enough or frequently enough. And there's a lot of leaves built up and blocking gutters, and et cetera. So if there's any communication on when gutters are cleaned or how often gutters are cleaned, that would help out as well. Those were the two takeaways I got.
Mr. President, can I have? One thing I forgot is the Joey Scott, Mr. Scott, that comes from Lenter, offered that this company will provide information or service for residents that are not contract with the VMS or United when they remodel, because they are very experts in our community and knows our roof. I highly recommend it. If you have any problem with the roof, call them first, because they have been here for so long. And I promise to give this phone number, 714-633-0030, Lenter Company for the roofing. First call them before you call other people come to the community.
Yeah, just a quick comment that Joe Scott did give out his business card for residents to call him directly, but he was also complimentary to the VMS staff that he works with and everything, and that should be noted.
Whenever you get to the next one, I know I've been talking to Mike about a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about next one.
All right, so since we are concerned about buying and being able to afford United and so on, many people these days are setting up trusts to buy and to own, as shareholders. And others don't know anything about it. And a person who already owns can switch into a trust. And so what we thought we would do would be to hold a trust town hall to explain how one can get into a trust, even though they're already the shareholder, how they can change that into a trust, and how if they move somewhere, they can set up a trust. Because a trust really does make a lot of things easier. So we were thinking that would be an interesting idea for people. We'll get an attorney and whatever help we can get from staff. No help from staff. Will they have a
No
good
help from
brochure?
staff.
Okay, so we'll,
No help from staff.
okay, we'll find someone.
Trusts. So I think one of the things with trusts is that if you have an existing loan on a co-op, which many new people don't have, but if you do have an existing loan, you have to go through refinancing to get your property into a trust. You have to get a new loan to get into the trust. You can't go from, if you have a loan currently, you can't move your property into a trust without starting the process of getting a new loan. So that might be something we'll need to explain at the town hall. So that will be the March town hall will be on trusts in United. Okay, great, thank you. So that's A. 14B, entertain a motion to approve supplemental appropriation for United Turf Reduction Projects. So who's going to speak to this, 14B?
Kurt Weeman is going to speak to this. He's on Zoom, so if you just give him a minute.
Okay.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Good morning, Kurt. Yeah, we can hear you.
This is a supplemental appropriation just to continue funds left over from last year's budget. This is not new money. So last year, the business plan budgeted a little more than $388,000 for turf removal and landscape modernization. We had some delays in the design phase of the big project that we're doing, which is a 14,000 square foot passive park. We're removing non-functional turf and replacing it with walkways and benches and trees. It's going to be really nice. But the design end of it took much longer than we expected. We started the design process in September, and I just got finalized plans last week, and the project is now out to bid. So this is to carry the money over, left over from last year, so we can complete the project.
So it's money from last year that we're using now?
Correct. It was reserve funds last year that were not completely spent for the reasons I just mentioned. And this is the $189,480 is what is left over from last year.
I see.
And we expect to use most of that for this project.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $189,480 to fund a portion of the United Turf Reduction Projects. This is already budgeted money.
Okay, seconded by Allison. Okay. Any discussion, any questions for Kurt? Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. So no, Cash abstains or? Okay. Or no? Abstain. Okay. All right.
Oh, you can see.
Okay, so that's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kurt. Okay, next item is 14C. Entertain a motion to approve supplemental appropriation for Shepherd's Crook installation. This is that area by gate, I think it's gate 1, south of gate 1 to the end on El Toro where the shopping center is. And this is, we passed this at our M&C committee, and now it's in the board's hands. So,
So moved.
I second it.
It should be read.
Okay, you're right.
He's here to explain, I mean, staff.
The resolution is ordinarily read
You're right.
first.
You're right. You're right. So 14C.
We
don't
didn't
have
read the last one.
No, we didn't.
5
No?
of 18, 5 of 18.
So we don't want to repeat that error.
All right, so Do you want to read it, Maggie?
Okay, supplemental appropriation for Shepherd's Crook installation. Whereas in May 2017, the City of Laguna Woods issued CUP 1135 governing the replacement of barbed wire fencing with Shepherd's Crook fence. And whereas the 2023 business plan approved by United Board allocates $35,000 from the reserve fund to install approximately 300 linear feet of Shepherd's Crook fencing along El Toro Road, and whereas on December 28, 2022 and January 31, 2023, the United M&C and Finance Committees endorsed a recommendation for a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $40,000 to install an additional 400 linear feet of Shepherd's Crook along El Toro Road east of Gate 1. Now therefore be it resolved on February 14, 2023, the Board of Directors of the corporation hereby authorizes a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $40,000 to be funded from the reserve fund, and resolve a supplemental appropriation is authorized from the reserve fund in the amount of $40,000 to be used for this project. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this corporation. I move this resolution.
Okay.
Already moved and seconded.
Diane? Okay.
I have a question from Manuel before we go discussion. Manuel, if we
Before?
pass this one, how much more we needed for United?
To finish?
Yes. Is it, I wanted just to know that how much so I can divide it by things and find the year.
United has approximately 17,000 linear feet left.
17,000 left. So do you know how much with this, if you include this one, how much we are done?
Well, that'll be 700 less.
No. I mean, the whole, so far we did 700.
No, I'm sorry. I don't have that number. I don't know how much we've done over the last
Yes, that's
five,
what I
5 or
wanted
6
to
years.
know.
I don't have that number with me today.
Oh, you don't have it?
But you've been doing approximately 300 a year, so you've probably only done less than 2,000.
2,000, and
Right.
with this one,
Roughly.
2,700
Right.
total. Okay, thank you so much.
So in order to do 17,000, it would be in the millions.
It's millions, yes. So we cannot
Many
afford that. We
millions.
should definitely this one, yes.
But we definitely want to look at
Yes,
increasing it for next year over what we currently do.
Or more spaces that is more in danger, like along the El Toro Road or something. Some spaces is a little bit back. Right.
Yeah, go
Like
ahead.
Czar said, that is addressing those areas, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's El Toro.
Yes,
Yes,
specific.
that's the whole purpose. Okay, and there's been a motion to approve and it's seconded. Any other discussion? Okay. Question?
No,
Okay,
just-
all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, item D, entertain a motion to approve exclusive use agreement for common area parking for 901Q, 14D.
Oh, my goodness.
I move this motion to approve that exclusive use of the common area parking in cul-de-sac 72.
I second it.
As listed in the,
There is no resolution in the package.
No. Did staff want to
Is there?
explain that? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, can you explain this so that everyone's familiar with it?
Certainly. So the item before you is the result of a member who addressed the board at your last meeting requesting the use of a guest space adjacent to their building to accommodate the lift that she uses for her wheelchair on her vehicle. So we went out and looked at the location, identified a parking space in the guest area. There's 4 or 5 guest parking spaces we're recommending allocating the one closest to the sidewalk area that would make it easily accessible for the wheelchair. We are suggesting that a exclusive use agreement is the best vehicle by which to accommodate this. The agreement, draft agreement that's in your packet specifically states that it's only for this one manor owner, and if the shareholder either moves or sells the unit, then that would void out the agreement for any, and the space would go back to guest parking space. By practice, we don't include resolutions for items that are not changing an operating rule or a policy. So we view this simply as a temporary arrangement with this particular shareholder, which is why we did not include a resolution for this.
Lenny, I have a
Go ahead,
question.
Diane.
So this is an area that's open typically for anybody to park,
Correct.
guests, residents, whatever. How are you going to secure it so it's only for that person?
We're recommending that we stencil the unit number on the parking space. It'll say 901Q. And then we also sent out a notice to all of the residents in the cul-de-sac to let them know that this was being considered.
Great. And can you have like something handicap or anything like that, or no?
It's not a handicap space. It
Okay.
really doesn't meet the criteria for a handicap space, so it would be, we wouldn't recommend that we sign it as handicap.
Okay.
It's simply a designated space for the shareholder.
Okay. And everybody
I
bought
have a
into it.
question. Now, this person already has a parking space in the covered parking lot.
They have a carport that's
Carport,
assigned
yeah.
to them.
Yeah, so this would be a second space for this person?
Correct.
Okay. Does this person has a car in the carport?
They indicated when they spoke last month that they have trouble using the carport space because they can't get the wheelchair ramp, the lift out of the vehicle to use the wheelchair.
So is that the carport's going to stay empty when this person is entitled to use this open space?
Correct, unless a shareholder has a second vehicle that we're not aware of.
I see.
Can I add, Pearl, this person came here, doesn't have one leg, and then is that one, and she was there. Here, you weren't here last year,
Yeah,
last
I
month.
know. I am for her having this special space.
Yes.
However, having another space in the carport that will stay vacant.
It's not, and when you drop it there, at night, somebody can take the car there, so it's not the issue. The problem is she cannot use her space to go it. We cannot give the space
I
assigned
understand.
to someone else.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm all for having her have access to this special arrangement. I was just wondering, then what happened to this carport space that she owns? That was my question.
I think Mary had a question. Mary, are you still there?
I am. So my question goes along, I think, with what's being said is that this then gives her 2 parking spots for her unit, and I understand the problem she's having. So here's my concern. My concern is painting the asphalt. I would prefer a sign that says temporarily reserved for and the unit number, because once the unit number goes to be sold down the line, even though you're putting it in the documents, that it reverts back. I want to make sure that there's no implication on a resale that a new owner says, oh, my spot's painted here, where if a sign says temporary, whatever sign, temporarily reserved for this unit, the sign can easily be removed when the unit is sold, and there's no implication that that second space goes with the unit. That's my concern.
So could that be done on the stencil, say temporary?
Yeah.
This number? Instead of just the number, it could be, say, temporary.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a
That's a good idea, Mary. Thank you. Any other questions? I think it's a great job that you guys did to respond to her so quickly, because it was just at the last board meeting that she brought this up. And so I really appreciate your quick response on this. Tony?
So, Mr. President, we have a motion on the floor.
Yes.
Do I understand
You
you're
should
trying
ask
to,
for a
somebody's
vote.
making an amendment to the motion?
No,
No.
there's no amendment.
No, because it's not really, it doesn't need a motion, right, does it?
Well, the motion is just to approve it.
You
So-
just ask if there is
No,
any
Is
objection.
there is a motion on the floor to approve 14D, right?
Yes,
It was seconded?
yes.
Okay. Pearl?
Now, I have a question. Now, does the motion says we have a temporary sign on that space?
It doesn't specify.
But that's what.
It
Okay, do
was
you
in
think
the
we need
unit.
Take that as direction from the board.
Okay.
We take as
Okay.
direction.
So it doesn't need to be an amendment, okay. So, okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, 14D. 14E. 14E, entertain a motion to approve the revision to Architectural Standard 35 solar panels, one-story building, and buildings with unshared roof space. February initial notification, 28-day notification for member review and comments to comply with civil code. So,
Resolution 0123XX, Alteration Standard Section 35, Solar Panels, One-Story Building and Buildings. Whereas the Board of Directors of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board recognizes the need to amend standards and create new standards as necessary, and whereas the Board recognizes the need to revise Standard 35, Solar Panels, One-Story Buildings, now therefore be it resolved March 14, 2023, that the Board hereby adopts Standard 35 Solar Panels One-Story Buildings as attached to the official meeting minutes, and resolve further that the Resolution 010861 adopted April 8, 2008 is hereby superseded in its entirety and no longer in effect. Resolve further that the mutual consent processing fee for solar panel installation is to be calculated based on 4.7 hours charged at the current bill rates and is to be applied at the time an application is approved. And resolve further the mutual consent processing fee for solar panel installation request is set at the initial rate of $223 for 2023 and will be adjusted annually with the adoption of the new bill rates. And resolve further the mutual consent processing time for solar panel installation requests is to be completed within 45 days from receipt of a complete application. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written. I move this resolution.
I second.
Second. Well, I have a question about it. So regarding Bert, are you going to answer these questions? Okay. So it talks about the initial rate of 223 for 2023. What does that mean? Is that the rate of renting the solar panel, or what is that?
I will be happy to explain that, but may I ask or may I place a request to read a second resolution that's associated with this action that we are presenting as well, and that has to do with the fee schedule?
Okay. So where is that in our package?
14E.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Solar application processing fee, whereas alteration and variance requests require significant staff time for proper processing, including research, report preparation, presentation to the appropriate committee and board, and whereas in order to offset a portion of the administrative costs associated with processing variance requests, which is often followed by multiple resubmittals and can be followed by an appeal to the board in accordance with Resolution 01-2027, and whereas the following revisions are approved. 1. The solar installation application fee is revised to $223, and whereas the new alteration fee schedule better aligns the fees with the administrative time it takes to process each task. Now therefore be it resolved March 14, 2023, to partially offset administration costs associated with processing alteration and variance requests, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby revise the alteration and inspection fees as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and the new alteration fee schedule will be adopted. And resolve further that Resolution 01-1922, adopted February 12, 2019, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the resolution. I move this resolution.
Okay, second, Diane?
My question is, so we have a reduction from $700 down to $223? What was that about?
So, if I may answer both questions, the initial question regarding the bill rates, as well as the question that you have presented. If you can look at attachment number 7 of your packet, it has a detailed matrix on how we arrived at the $237. What is being proposed is that currently the way we are handling solar applications, it is based on the value of the construction, which most of them exceed the $10,000 mark, which automatically makes those a $700 fee. We had received complaints from applicants as well as board members that seemed excessive. Once we looked at that and we analyzed the time that we spend processing these applications, we believe that the currently the $223 amount will cover the staff time for this. In regards to the bill rates, it refers to the chargeable bill rates that are adopted every year, and the way that it is worded will allow for those adjustments to take place without having to come back and go through the approval process, as that is a minor adjustment to that fee.
So my other question is, so when they do these solar panels, how does that affect the roofing? Are they responsible for that section of the roof?
They are, and I do have a very brief presentation for you that may answer some of those questions.
Okay.
Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just like to let you know, if you go to Home Depot or Costco, you may be approached by one of their employees to try to sell you on the solar system. But every one of those companies want you to get into a lease program. And I'm going to ask Mr. Mejia why we don't want a lease program for solar. Thank you.
And I'll be happy to address that as well. If I can go through the brief presentation, and then I will answer both of those questions. If you can go to the next slide, thank you. So some of the things, and as you know, the ACSC committee and this board has a goal of reviewing all of the current standards and update them or review them to see if they're still applicable, update them with either new language or new requirements. This one being one of them, and quite important because this is one that, we have a shot clock that we need to adhere to, and the other one is to correct a discrepancy, which was the initial reason why this standard and the next standard that we're going to see were considered for revision, and the reason for that revision is that one of the standards specifically stated that leasing of solar panels was not allowed, where the other standard was silent. So some of the house cleaning things that we did with this standard is to remove all of the general requirements. It's a long list of requirements, and Standard 1 was adopted for that purpose, so that if there are any revisions to the general requirements, that Standard 1 gets changed and automatically applies to all of the standards that are adopted. This had not been reviewed, so it still had that list of standards. By removing them and just referring to standard number 1, it will make reading and the content of this standard much simpler to follow. The other item that we looked at in detail is how to address the impacts to the roof and who is responsible for its maintenance. How do they make sure that any penetrations that make into the roof, one, maintain the warranty that we have for that roof, and that it meets also mutual standards. That language has been added. There are a number of sections that have been enhanced to specifically deal with those actions. There is a red line version of the standard that shows all of those details. And I can address any one of those specifically, but for simplicity of this presentation, I just wanted to tell you that roofing requirements and the spacing between the panels were the major enhancements that we have implemented with this revision. The other one is on the leasing of solar panels. As I stated previously, one of the standards specifically prohibited that. The other one was silent. We are now proposing that both standards prohibit the leasing of solar panels. And the main reason for that is that the leased panels do not really belong to the shareholder nor the mutual. So should anything happen, it becomes quite laborious to have them remove. Those panels have to follow the same rules of the contract that the shareholder signed, but the mutual was not a part of that. I believe that was the main reason why it was prohibited in one, but it was left out of the other one because they didn't probably, or they forgot it was a previously adopted standard. But that is the main reason. It is that the leased solar panels are not owned by neither the shareholder nor the mutual. So next slide, please. So a second resolution was read to specifically address the change to the solar application fee and to move that into a flat rate. And the only time that that will change is with the adoption of the new chargeable bill rates that each board approves every year. As you can see, for the current 2023 year, it is proposed to be $223. You saw before how we arrived at that number based on the time that we spent processing those applications, and that includes processing the common area use agreement to allow for that installation to take place. So you should have received also a revised alteration fee schedule with red lines. After reviewing this with the city indicated that as with their request to not refer to mutual consents as permits, that we also remove all references to permits from our alteration fee schedule. And more importantly, they indicated that making a statement as to when a building permit is required should be left up to the city to decide that. So with that, it doesn't change any of the fees. Essentially, what we are doing is cleaning up the fee schedule to remove all references to permits or whether a permit is required or not. Instead, we refer to, as stated, if you look at the red line version of this, at the top of the alteration schedule, we refer our shareholders to contact the city to see if a building permit is required. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have. And I hope that I did answer the questions that you had asked.
Thank you, President Ross. If you look on that last slide that Mr. Mejia put up there, on the right, you see the big X on there. Obviously, I've worked pretty closely with him on the architectural committee. And there's a new sheriff in town down there in Laguna Woods City. And I guess he is why we've had to change that, and maybe he can explain that to you. Thank you.
And that is correct. We have a new building official that is reading all of the requirements and going through the building permitting process. We work closely with the city. It's a partnership. We want to make sure that moving forward that there are no delays when we're processing, and the shareholders are processing their alterations. And I believe this is going to go a long ways to helping with that, as there's not going to be a misunderstanding as to when a building permit is required or not.
Thank you for explanation. That's clear many of my questions. But one question that still I am puzzling is with inflation and everything goes up, we are going from 700 processing fee back to 200. We are talking almost about 500 down. So should I raise my concern to review all processing fee in the VMS? Because I am now a little bit concerned about other processing fee. And should we a review, should we something, because now technology is more coming, maybe less work of people involved or many things. The difference is too big from 700 coming to the 220.
Yeah,
So
we're basically, we're just allowed to cover our costs. That's
Yes,
why we
cover
come up
us.
with these fees.
Yeah.
But 700 would be way more than our cost to process the fee.
No.
So
Yeah,
that's the
I
reason.
understand that this is the cost that we are charging,
Right.
200.
Right.
And Mr. President, as a future action item, we plan on presenting to you a report similar to the one that we did for the solar installations.
Yes.
Reviewing the mutual consent fees, not the permit fees.
Thank you. That's what I want to hear. Thank you so much.
And reevaluate the amount that it is being charged.
Thank you.
Some of them may be lower, some may be higher, but again, the purpose is to cover staff time in reviewing those.
And this is based on 2023, you know, what you think the costs are for 2023. That could change next year, you know. if costs go
That
up.
is correct. If next year the new chargeable rates go up, then this fee will go up proportionally. If it goes down, then it will be reduced proportionally as well.
So they're, basically, we're telling the members that they can't lease their solar based on this policy. So they're going to have to purchase a solar system. Are we recommending any companies to do that, or are they on their own?
We are not recommending any companies to do any installations. There are a number of qualified companies. As long as they are properly licensed and follow the procedures that we are establishing, any qualified company will be allowed to make those installations.
Okay, and so they're basically, by buying their solar systems, they're going to have to expend, you know, $6,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 in addition to this processing fee, whatever the cost of the solar system is. Thank you.
Yeah, I just had a question back on the roofs. So I know I live in a Seville, and the patio, that's an open area, was closed in, and then I was responsible as the owner who took over to pay whatever it cost to roof that particular area, which was I think like $500. It was a long time ago that the roof was done. But so what does happen with that area with the solar panel? Because, I mean, and plus it might even cause leaks or something, or what, I mean, they have some responsibility in that?
So the shareholder is fully responsible for its maintenance its removal and the restoration of the roof to a condition that meets mutual standards and any warranty requirements that we may have on that roof.
And so if there is a problem with the roof and they have to come in and redo the roof, they would be responsible for whatever it takes to fix that part of it?
That is correct. If that building is scheduled to be re-roofed, it will be re-roofed in its entirety. But if the removal of the solar panels requires that a portion of that roof be removed and replaced, it will have to meet the requirements of this standard.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So was there a motion for this one?
Yeah.
Okay, and it was it was seconded already?
Mhm.
Okay, so all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous, okay. Do we need to go through the same thing for item F? 'Cause it's two-story buildings, right? So do we need to read the same resolution, or there's a resolution for that different than E, 14F? Or can we just go to
I think we
approve
know
it?
it.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Cash, did you want to say?
yeah, I have a two-story building. One of the two may not want, the upstairs guy may not want to put the roof, solar panel on his roof, because he's the one who is going to have to deal with any leaks. If the ground floor wants to put this thing on his roof, I mean, we have to have some kind of resolution. We can't just say that a two-story building will be similar.
So let's read it then.
May I read the resolution?
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Maggie.
It is 14F, it is a pink page.
Okay.
15 to 42.
14F. It's a pink page.
15 of 42.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one.
Okay. Resolution 0123XX, alteration standard, section 42, solar panels, two-story buildings. Whereas the Board of Directors of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board recognizes the need to amend standards and create new standards as necessary, and whereas the Board recognizes the need to revise Standard 42, solar panels, two-story buildings, now therefore be it resolved March 14, 2023, that the Board hereby adopts Standard 42 solar panels, two-story buildings, as attached to the official meeting minutes, and resolve further that Resolution 01-14-130, adopted October 23, 2014, is hereby superseded in its entirety and no longer in effect. And resolve further that the mutual consent processing fee for solar panel installation is to be calculated based on 4.7 hours, charged at the current bill rates, and is to be applied at the time of application is approved. And resolve further the mutual consent processing fee for solar panel installation request is set in the initial rate of $223 for 2023 and will be adjusted annually with the adoption of the new bill rates. And resolve further the mutual consent processing time for solar panel installation request is to be completed within 45 days from receipt of a complete application. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written. I move this resolution.
Okay, seconded? Allison, okay, thank you. Any discussion? So Cash, you had a point about that. So did you want to raise that issue again? No? Any other questions? Any other questions? No? Okay. Anyone?
Well, the only question I would have is, everybody has to agree, or is it just one part of the, if there's multi-units? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I also have a brief presentation for you that may answer your question. So as with the previous standard, the first two slides are identical as we did the same types of changes where we incorporated specific language for with the roof and the spacing. It is with the third slide that we differentiate between the previous standard and this one, which applies to essentially the allocation of space for flat roofs of these multi-unit buildings. And can you go to the next one, please? So with the revisions to the standard, we do not recommend it, we do not entertain any changes to the way that space is allocated for those multi-units. I have a few slides that will follow and that were attached to your report, just to refresh your memory as to how space is allocated for these units. Again, the idea is to provide equal space to every manor, and for those who choose not to install solar panels, that space will remain unused, as it will not be fair to increase the space from another manor. And who knows if a year or 2 years later that shareholder will want to add solar panels at that point. So that will remain unused. So the first one, first layout, if you can go to the next one, please. It's a straight allocation, again, equal space for every manor. This is for a 6-unit building, your Casa Linda style of building. The next one is your Castilla or La Brisa type of allocation. That one is not as clear as the previous one, but again, the area that is allocated is similar for each manor, even though they are arranged in different shapes and throughout what's available out there. It should be noted that those space allocations do not take into account any structures that may be there, such as either AC units or vents, and there are specific requirements for that. The standard addresses those requirements, and it is the responsibility of the shareholder and the solar contractor to come up with a solar layout appropriate for the space that's available to that manor. Next one, please. This one is a lot simpler, similar to the first one. Next one, please. This one has more units, but again, the idea is to allow a similar area for each one of the manors. I believe that's the last one. It's similar to the previous standard. The same fee is proposed for these two-story buildings, as the processing time is the same, whether it is for one-story building or two-story buildings. Next one, please. And the same changes are proposed since there are two separate standards. Each one will have its own associated fee, but the fee is the same, and the changes to the fee schedule are also identical. Next one. Thank you.
So, on, let's say, a fourplex, a Seville, are you allow, or is this considering, those type of units to put something on their roofs that are independent from the other parties? Like a Seville has 4 units. I mean, would
Correct.
that be considered in one of these?
So that will be considered, again, it's a proportional space. We have the guidelines as to how to allocate the space, and the roof will be divided proportionally among in this case, the 4 manors, and they will get 1/4 of the available space, following the same guidelines for either one of the 2 standards, where you have minimum spacing requirements and roofing requirements. So they will get a proportional area of that building.
And somehow the contractor is able to wire it so that that person gets the savings of the solar?
So we work very closely with the contractors and the shareholders, and our inspection team will be there to make sure that the area is what is being approved. We also review the plan that they submit and approve that plan as far as the layout is concerned.
Great, thank you.
You know, some of the people may face with tree shades on the portion they have. So what is the outcome? What is the alternative you have in mind for them?
So there isn't.
So their portion may not get enough sunlight.
Unfortunately, to be fair with all the shareholders, and shading is something that we'll have to deal with at some point during the day. They will get some sunlight, maybe not as much as the next door unit. And the solar contractor will have to include that analysis into their projections for solar production.
When you have multiple units, let's say 8 or 12 units, and you have 4 solar panels, and they have to be removed when the roof has to be re-roofed, who's responsible for taking those solar panels and removing them so the roofers can do the roofing? How is that shared amongst the people who live?
It is an alteration, and the shareholder that owns those solar panels is responsible for the removal and reinstallation of those after the roof has been installed. They need to coordinate that with our roofing contractor, of course, and our roofing contractor may end up doing the final sealing of those penetrations, but the work itself will have to be performed by the shareholder.
Okay. Yes, let's go to Maggie. I'm sorry, she had it.
Should I read 14F, which goes with the application fee?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Okay. Resolution, this is 14F, page 39 of 42, it's pink. Resolution, solar application processing fee. Alteration and variance requests require significant staff time for proper processing, including research, report preparation, presentation to the appropriate committee on the board, whereas in order to offset a portion of the administrative costs associated with processing variance requests, which is often followed by multiple resubmittals and can be followed by an appeal to the board in accordance with Resolution 01-2027, and whereas the following revisions are approved. 1, the solar installation application fee is revised to 223. Whereas the new alteration fee schedule better aligns the fees with the administrative time it takes to process each task. Now therefore be it resolved March 14, 2023, to partially offset administrative costs associated with processing alteration and variance requests, the Board of Directors of this corporation who revise the alteration and inspection fees as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and the new alteration fee schedule will be adopted, and resolve further that Resolution 01-1922, adopted February 12, 2019, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the resolution. I move this resolution.
Seconded. Diane? Any questions? Okay.
From Mr. Bob. If, especially those that they have 4, and if one resident doesn't want it at all, be responsible or pay or for anything, can the other one use her space? I mean, you said everyone has 1/4 of the space. That's totally understandable. But if the other person be agree that I'm not going to use my space and you're welcome to use it, I mean, can they make an agreement and sign it? And have you think about that?
Staff is not recommending that, as it will not be fair to that shareholder that owns that unit and has that space allocated to them, as they can change their mind in the future and they may end up using it, and as I mentioned before, that space will remain unused. To allow one manor to have more solar panels than the other one will not be equitable to all of the shareholders of that building.
Okay, thank you.
I see a little problem in a two-story building, and the ground floor unit wants to put this roofing panels. The upstairs person may be faced with leaks, etc., and he may object. I don't want to do this. Then what is your solution?
So the language that was added to the standard covers those incidental issues. And the way that it is covered is that if it is a roof that's under warranty, that it is required that they go to the roofing installer that has installed that's under warranty to preserve the warranty. The work itself has to meet roofing standards to prevent any of those penetrations from leaking. So if it's done properly, there should not be any leaks. Should any leaks develop, the shareholder will be responsible for that damage, as is with any alteration that is approved for any of the manors.
So if there's any leak later on, and the ground floor unit has this on the roof, he is responsible throughout the life of that solar panel.
If it is determined that that was the cause of the leak, they will be responsible for that.
Company, so that it gets the seal of approval or whatever, that it's done right and it's not going to affect the roof.
And
That's my
that too,
impression.
that too has been covered by the standard. It requires that inspection
It does, good.
by the roofing manufacturer to preserve the warranty.
Mm-hmm, okay, good.
Is there a motion on that?
Yeah, there was. Maggie and I seconded.
I recommend you ask for the vote for E first and then F second, 14E.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it's approved. Okay, last item.
And 14E.
14G.
No, 14, no, 14E.
E,
Oh, I thought we did it E.
that's the two-story. Both, E is two-story.
Yeah, we just did the two-story.
Oh,
14F.
okay, then we want to do F.
14F.
Well, now 14G, right?
That's the harassment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at 14G, entertain a motion to amend the United Anti-Harassment Policy, February initial notification 28-day, notification for member review and comments to comply with civil code. This is our new anti-harassment policy. And so, would you read it, Maggie?
Yes, I just have a question. Do you have on record us passing both E and F? Good, thank you. Okay, resolution, this is page 11 of 12 for 14G, it's pink. Amend the United Anti-Harassment Policy. Its Mutual Board of Directors has recognized the need to amend the harassment policy to set forth guidelines for harassment complaints received by the board. Now therefore be it resolved, March 14, 2023, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopt the amended harassment policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 01-18102, adopted September 28, 2018, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
Second.
All those in favor of the anti-harassment policy, raise your hand. Okay, it's approved.
This is just for initial notification. It's on 28-day review.
Oh, okay, it goes to 28 days, okay. Okay, director comments.
No, Director which Paul sent it, is H, is for is the recommendation for private loan research ad hoc committee appointments. It is there.
This was the addendum to the agenda that was issued on Friday.
Oh, okay.
And if you don't mind, I just read this one. This is recommendation, review and approve the private loan research ad hoc committee appointment. And we're supposed to pick 4 from 8 people. First of all, to not raise any question why this one, it suppose from VMS goes to here somehow felt in the crack, so is added later. So it's not my fault or anybody. We are supposed to pick up 4, and we did it in the Finance Committee. We discussed, we review all of them. However, the reason it comes here, one of them that we pick up, Manny Robledo, we found that he is a member of the VMS, representative from United to VMS. And although he's good and he can come, we thought maybe we just choose residents. And that's the reason is here. So only approve these 3 plus 1 more, and if board decided with that. So I am reading this one, that review and approve the private loan research ad hoc committee appointment, Eric Carson, Richard Lapointe, and Robert Tucker. On December 13, the Board of Directors approved Resolution 01-2284 to establish a private loan research ad hoc committee charter. Following the board decision, a committee was sent out to residents requesting that those interested in becoming members of the ad hoc committee send a 3 to 4 sentences email stating their professional background to Financial Service Department by Friday, January 20. So we just received them, we reviewed them, and we suggested these 3. So the 4th one, as we discussed, if board decided, you can see is all added to your agenda. Maybe Mr. Ken Benson is a good one. He has a 35 years background on that, but we are open to any suggestion that other people wants to add.
Point of parliamentary procedure. I didn't vote for this in the agenda.
Pardon?
Yeah.
This was not
This
part
is
of the agenda
endorsement.
that we voted on today.
No,
They
it
asked
is
if we
in-
approved the agenda.
Okay,
It wasn't
it-
on the agenda. It's
Okay.
not approved.
Okay, can you listen, please?
Don't talk to me. Talk to the chair.
Okay, Mr. Chair, endorsement, like all other endorsement, when we go to the prep meeting, all the endorsement is just the name, finance endorsement, landscape endorsement. This is endorsement from finance. I called, and then somehow, maybe Siobhan can address, or Paul, the CFO didn't on time prepare and send it. It's not our fault. It's supposed to go through a staff as endorsement to here. So endorsement does not need to be mentioned because in the prep meeting, because it comes from committee directly to the agenda. And that's all endorsement coming. We didn't talk about any of this that we prove as endorsement in the agenda. So that's about that.
It's ignoring the fact that when you asked for an approval of the agenda, it wasn't on the agenda. I'm sorry.
You cannot understand what I'm saying.
All right, well, my question is, I was at the Finance Committee, and this was discussed.
Yes.
But that was on the 31st.
Correct.
And so the agenda prep already happened. Now, why did it not get to us between
Ask
now and then?
CFO.
I mean, that's a long time.
I would like to clarify 2 things. One, this was issued as an addendum to the agenda. So
Yeah.
this was issued and noticed properly as part of the agenda. Secondly, it was a mistake by staff. It did not get transmitted as it should have.
Okay.
And we
so-
realize that.
Well, I just want to understand how that works. So how many days is it? I mean, you count the weekend or?
Diane, what, in terms of posting the agenda?
No, about getting us this information.
It was a staff error.
Oh, okay.
So it was
That's
issued
fine.
Friday late morning.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I just want to understand how it goes. And that, these candidates were approved in that last Finance Committee meeting. And so you did all that then. and
Yes,
I-
only Manny we wanted to take
Which
off.
I was at the VMS
Yes.
meeting, and there was a problem with that,
Yes.
so I know that happened.
Yes.
Yeah, so and maybe that was a delay, because that
No,
VMS meeting was
no,
late.
that was, it should supposed to come like this to that.
Okay, all right, that's all I have. I mean, I'm not in disagreement, it's just that sometimes you need to have some time to look at it.
Okay, so, yeah, we didn't have much time to review it, so I don't even have a copy of it myself. But anyway, so what does the board want to do with this?
Okay, since finance, okay, you have that one. Since finance reviewed, as some directors was there, we are approving, we are asking to approve this one, including Ken Benson as a fourth one.
And removing Mr.
Manny Robledo.
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 Yeah, I do have another question. So Ken Benson is on another ad hoc committee right now.
Yes, and he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah, but I mean, so is that something that you don't want to have another person?
You can, it's in front of you, put it, but we found him
He's
35.
great. I mean, he's intelligent.
He's
He's
very
great.
knowledgeable if he can have, and the other ad hoc is probably done. We're just in the process to send it to the board. So that is already done by this week. So we thought we use this amazing knowledge that he has for 35 years to this. If I am not against, if you want to put someone else, put it. But we wanted to find based on the knowledge that people have.
So you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting board
these-
approve
Eric
Eric Carson, Richard Lapointe, Robert Tucker, and Ken Benson.
I read this.
I make a motion.
Okay. To approve? Okay, I second it.
So instead of Manny, Ken Benson.
Yes.
Okay, it's been seconded? Okay.
Yeah, ask
Any-
for
any-
vote, any
So this-
objection.
Any discussions about?
This will be the vote for the amendment to
Yes,
Ken Benson.
yes, to Ken,
Thank
correct.
you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the motion is for accepting these four people for ad hoc committee.
Oh,
Eric Carson, I'm reading again the motion. I'll move a motion to accept Eric Carson, Richard Lapointe, Robert Tucker, and Ken Benson for the ad hoc committee. That's the motion.
Were there any other people that were qualified other than these four?
They all, if you read it, is 20 years, 20. We choose it. I don't know any of them. I just choose based on information, very high level information.
So yeah, we already selected the four individuals. Manny Robledo just couldn't be on it because he's a VMS board member and somebody objected to that, which is fine. And so you're basically just replacing Manny with Ken Benson.
That's it.
And that's the motion is.
Yes,
right.
that's the motion.
And this would ordinarily have been on the consent calendar.
Ordinarily, yes, but.
That is
they didn't.
correct, yes.
Yes, so
That's
that.
supposed to be.
It's
Yes.
not, it's just numbered differently.
Correct,
Because of
correct.
the late additions. So
Correct.
That's
Correct,
it.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if
Any
you
other-
ask if there is any
Yeah, any
objection,
other questions? Okay, let's go to the vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, all those opposed?
I had it on. Yes.
Oh, you're yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, any opposed? Okay.
I
So it's-
abstain because I don't know.
It's
enough
approved.
about it. Yeah.
Pearl abstained.
Oh, Pearl abstained, okay. Okay, we are ready for, actually now, director comments. Any director comments before we go to committee reports?
Yes, I want to make, I think, I want to just suggest the more I will be acting in the board professionally, the more residents be interested to watch us and knows what's going on. For a while, at least in many cul-de-sac that I am in my walk every day, I hear, for a while they didn't want to watch because it was very, very wild and not controlled. Thankfully, this year is more controlled and they are watching. However, still some directors wants to attack and scream and long hands pointing to each other. I think it's proper in this voice we disagree or disagreement and say whatever you wanted as an agreement, but reaction and have not professionally screaming is make resident again scared and not to watch us. So I am asking, please keep the professional manner here. It is a board. I know we are really professional here in the board, and let's keep it professional. Thank you so much.
Lenny, I have a comment. So anyway, my comment is that Lenny makes the statement in the beginning of the meeting of how he's going to control it. But when a board member is speaking, you need to stop when somebody is interrupting. It happened to me and it happened to Anthony. I mean, you've got to stand up for that. I mean, that's why I'm battling with her, because she interferes. She had no right to say who is going to be assigning those positions. Maybe you could, but I mean, even Anthony used to say, he's not responsible for assigning positions. It's the people that want them.
Well, and that's my responsibility to assign positions. And if there's disagreement, there's disagreement. And so I try to recognize people when they raise their hands. And if multiple people are raising their hands, I try my best to let the people speak when they're recognized. But what I want to avoid is debates or accusations or people yelling at each other. And I just want to keep the decorum as best as possible.
I'm just asking you to pay attention to somebody butting in, when they have the floor.
Fair enough. Thank you. Diane. Maggie.
Yes, as the one furthest out in left field, I'd like you to look this way first sometimes rather than that way first. It's natural to look to your right, but I'm asking you to look over this way first a couple of times.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
On a lighter note, I have I think Director Escari had mentioned one resident at the forum brought up the fact that she has requested many times in the past to put the larger numbers in the buildings because they cannot see in the evening. And that's the first time I really paid attention, driving around. And in the evening, it's very difficult to see the numbers in the buildings. So I think we should take that very seriously. And another thing is my personal thing. We are all interested in keeping our property values, and we want our village to look attractive. But as you enter the gate, all the colors are very elderly colors. Colors of the buildings are very neutral in a good way, depressing in not so good way. So I really like to see a little bit more brightening up of our whole village to make it more attractive. And also I think it would be more cheerful for the people that live here and bring more life and atmosphere to this. So I would like to request to maybe for us to offer wider variety, a little bit different additional color charts.
Yeah, when I was on the board last, I think we had a little committee.
Yes, I think we should really take it seriously.
That came up with different paint colors, and that was passed, and that was several years ago. So, yeah,
different colors?
There's
Maybe
several different paint color options now.
Maybe we need to brighten up a little bit more.
Well,
The other thing is that the resident did say that, and I would like an answer from staff, is on the large signs, because there's some buildings that have them, some don't. And so maybe someone from staff give us an update on where that project is, because I have no idea.
My understanding is that it was stopped by either the then board, but I can get further information for
Right.
you.
Okay, yeah, would be appreciated. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so let's go to committee. Oh, Cash. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. President, we all should look at time as well. Looks like we are just making comments after comments. Some of them sometimes doesn't make sense. Everyone should be aware of the time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. Good point, Cash. Okay, report of the Finance Committee. Try and be as brief as possible. Okay, please.
Yes, thank you so much. We have a finance committee on January 31st, 2023. And this is the report from that. These are all from December 31st. In the first slide, you can see through the reporting period of December 31st, 2022, total revenue for United was $47.8 million, compared to expenditures $49.1 million, resulting in net expenses of
It's
$2.6 million.
47.8 thousand, not million.
Million.
Million?
Million. A K, you have to put a 0030 on the top of that.
Okay.
We cannot live with 47,000 in a month. Could we have a slide 2, please? Thank you. In finance, as usual, we keep a close eyes on the operating portion of our financial result. The operating fund without a depreciation showed an operating surplus $434,000 through the reporting period. This chart shows how much of our revenue went into operation, with $22.5 million coming in from assessment and $1.6 million coming from non-assessment revenue. This is compared to operating expenditures of $23.7 million without depreciation. Can we have slide 3, please? Thank you so much. This next chart takes the full income statement and compare those results to budget. We can see that United ended the period better than budget by $987,000, almost $1 million, when combining both operating and reserve saving. Can we have a slide 4, please? This slide is better, is more visual, and you can see the most significant variance from budget. The first one is coming from employee compensation, $1.8 million, favorable variance resulting primarily in M&C and landscape service, largely due to open positions. And the next one is material and surplus with $528,000, again, favorable variance resulting primarily from less materials used inside the mutual than anticipated. And if you see the next bar, which is green again, no, stay there, thank you. United and Telephone is $409,000 favorable. And this is for lower, resulting from lower residence sewer rates and went into effect in July 2022. And of course, you can see 2 red ones. The first one is loss on sale and trade, which is 1.4. Unfortunately, variance resulted from the sale of discretionary investment. And as I explained in the beginning, all of those invested in the Treasury bill, and you will not see this red again. And the next one is outside service is $328,000, and that's unfavorable variance primarily resulted from higher outside expenses of sharp bed maintenance than anticipated due to open position within landscape. And can we have this slide 5, please? This is a pie chart that is more visual, and you can see on this pie chart, we show non-assessment revenue earned to date is 1.9 million, excluding the loss on sale or trade. If you include those loss, then this number will become that 507,000. And you can see this chart is organized by category, starting with our largest revenue generating categories, fee and charges to residents, followed by investment interest income, laundry, lease processing fee, resale processing fee, and so on. If we can get slide 6, please. On this pie chart, we see the expenses to date is $49 million, showing that our largest category of expenses, of course, is employee compensation. And that's followed by property tax and outside service, utilities, insurance, materials and supplies, and so on. And if we go to the next slide is better because we take, in this slide, the difference between previous one is we take the property tax out of here because property tax residents pay and directly goes to the cities. So this, what you see exactly shows how your money is spent, the money that you pay as HOFE. So the only difference you can see is employee compensation now become 37% compared to outside services 27% and go forth. And can we go to slide 8, please? Thank you. So in this slide, you can see our fund balance are shown here. The contingency fund balance on December 31st, 2022 was 1.1 million. The reserve fund balance on December 31st, 2022 was 16.8 million. Contribution and investment revenue collected total 9.7, while expenditures were 12 million. The property tax fund balance on December 31st, 2022 was, of course, is deficit negative 681,000. And contribution and investment revenue collected total 12.5 million, while expenditures were 13.1 million. Can we get the slide? Yes, this is more visual. We can see. We compare these to historical fund balance for the past 5 years on this chart, which have averaged 19.7 millions. And number 10. And this is the last one. We have a slide here to show resale history from 2020 to 2022. Through December 31st, 2022, United resales total 412 units, which is 96 resale lower than prior year. For the same time period, the average year-to-date resale price for a United Mutual Manor was $363,000, which is $57,000 higher than prior year for the same period time. And this was the Treasury report, and for number 3, resale, for number 4, which is for investment ad hoc committee. I have to tell that we are almost at the end. We wrap it up with a policy which will be presented to the board by next board meeting. And board can review that one and vote and adopt that one. And then, of course, you just voted here for the private loan committee that I will give more detailed information about that on next month. Thank you so much.
Mary had a question.
Oh, Mary.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So I just have a quick question, and maybe Siobhan, you could answer this. So on the slide that talked about the property tax, I do understand that the unit property taxes are a pass-through, basically. You collect them, you hold them, you pay them. But where in the expenses are the common area property taxes, or do we not, is that on GRF?
Common area is GRF.
Yeah, the common area is GRF
Yes.
financials. Is that
Yes.
true? Okay, perfect. That was, as I asked, I realized it. Sorry. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
That was my question.
Thank you.
Meg?
Point of clarification, green areas in United are common area for United, but all the amenities, the clubhouses and things are GRF. So it's the landscaping around your place and to your neighbor's place and up the hill. All of those where the homes are, that is United. But the clubhouses are for those.
He was talking about property tax.
Property taxes.
Yes, yes. The green spaces around United are part of property tax.
I don't know, I'm not sure. I think the property tax is based on your floor plan, your footprint, and that's what the property tax is based on. It's not based on the common area.
So United Common Area is not taxed?
I don't know, I'd have to ask the financial experts about that.
Because, okay.
Architectural controls, Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you can see from the extensive presentation from Mr. Mejia, that although we didn't have any requests last time for alterations, we did meet to discuss in depth these changes and not to say a problem, but we have a new guy in town down there, Laguna Woods, and so Mr. Mejia is really engaged with him because this guy wants some recognition, I guess. And so we had our meeting, and we're going to have our next meeting on, let's see here, on February, no, I'm not paying attention, on March 16th will be, and again, I'm not, to save time and money, I don't try to do M&C, and if there's no request for alterations, I feel free to not use staff time and all that. That's all I have for that.
Yeah, can staff change the name for the director to Liberatory for item 16B? Because it shows Director Blackwell for architectural.
Right. I was never chair of there.
Oh, you were never chair for that?
No.
Okay.
I was fill-in chair for Reza a couple of years. That's why.
Okay. Next is Member Hearings Committee, Director Lee.
We had a membership hearing committee on February 9th, and our next meeting is on March 9th at 9 a.m. And our new director, Allison Park, joined us, and it was great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Governing Documents, Director Blackwell.
Thank you. We had a good meeting. We talked about, Pam Bashline talked about loans in United Laguna Woods, and we also discussed that and the possibility of loans or not. And she made a package for us of a staff report, and we sent the staff report and the understanding resale packages booklets, a copy of each, to go to all the new ad hoc members in the Finance Committee who will be making recommendations on loans. This does their background homework for them. They don't have to look it up. So that worked out well. And we have some ongoing things that will be coming up next. Clutter policy and governing personal items in common areas. We've got that up on the next schedule, and we've got another one on, I forget what it is. Another one, a good one. I'll email you. I forget what it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Report of the Landscape Committee, Director Casey.
Yeah, we had a very good meeting on January 23rd, and we had a presentation by Urban Forest, who is doing a study. It was a absolutely fabulous presentation, so you can watch it. You know, it's available online. And we also have a turf reduction project that I'm going to be going on with the advisors and whoever else wants, Maggie wants to go. but it's just looking at designated spots that are recommended to be removed that are, you know, not really providing useful.
It's part of the water conservation project.
That's right.
And so we select which spots we want to choose. They have a list, and we take some of those spots and visit them.
Yeah, we're going to take a look and give our seal of approval. And so our next meeting is going to be February 27th at 1:30.
I think there was about 30 different properties that were brought up that have very little lawns out in front of them. And it's better to take them out and because it saves on water.
Yeah, put a replacement.
And put low tolerant plants in there and that makes a lot of sense.
And Ann and Mary made a map.
Yeah.
And they're going to drive us around.
That's very good. Okay, G is report of the United Resident Advisory Committee, Director Liberatore.
Thank you, President Roll. This committee is. Thank you, I'm sorry. This committee is really important, and my predecessor, Director Lee, brought it out of this venue and took it over to the Elm Room. We set the room up with tables, and so it's a very close environment. There's no structure, and people can come and just tell us their issues, their problems, their concerns, and they don't have to worry about formal structure. And because of that, we don't want to share those things. We don't want to expose those people. And our next meeting will be on March 9th.
Lenny, you skipped F.
Did I skip one? Oh, I did. It's maintenance and construction. So the main item at the last meeting was passing the Shepherd's Crook. And it's something that we're going to be doing. We just voted on it. We're going to be doing it along El Toro. But part of our budget coming up, we may want to look at expanding that program for next year to at least cover the major roads that are exposed. So, but it was very good that we passed that because that started by a letter by one of our residents. And he was concerned on behalf of his neighbors too that there's various people getting into our community in that area. So that will be taken care of later this year. And the next meeting for that is February 22nd. Thank you, Diane. And then the next one is let's see, that's 15. Where are we at? Are we done with? Okay, now we're GRF. GRF Finance, Director Ascari, 817A.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, GRF has a meeting on December 21st, 2022, and the main things in the whole meeting was the chair of the committee invited Sage View to give in their view information about the investment. And he even Sage View, I personally asked, is this the lost, is real lost or paper lost, as some people says, and he said lost is lost, that money is lost. And again, he mentioned that yes, the bond funds is opposite with the interest. He confirmed that we know, but he is hoping that basically this committee waiting and still they are not changing investment from bond funds. I personally don't know why, but what I am asking residents that tomorrow we have a GRF meeting finance And if you have any comment, concern regarding to this matter, is a huge amount of their investment amount is more than us. It started at 19 million, but it's going down. So it is a concern that why there is no action, and still it's keep going. As far as everybody knows, that Fed again announced that the interest rate is going to go up again.
You know, I want to check with the attorney today because I don't think we should interfere with GRF. I mean, that we're going and petitioning and doing all this stuff. And,
Did you
and making these
recognize, you
announcements.
just says that, yeah, you have to get recognized. I was speaking. Did you ask?
Yeah,
And you
I
just
did.
jumped
I
in
raised
and
my
talked.
hand. I
He
did raise
didn't
my hand.
recognize. Okay, now go ahead.
I raised my hand.
Okay,
and
now
he gave
go
me the
ahead.
little.
Now go ahead.
So, anyway, are we supposed to be interfering with another corporation and going and protesting and doing all that kind of stuff? That's what I want to ask the attorney today. So,
Well, let me speak
Mr.
to that.
President,
Let me
okay.
speak to that, because, let's talk about Building E, for
No,
example.
it's about
Let me
investment.
talk about Building E, for example. When Building E, which is a GRF project, was voted
I
against
call
by the
for
board.
the agenda.
So I'm explaining something to Diane.
I call for the agenda. Orders of the day.
So, anyway, when
we
we
can talk
went
about it
through.
later.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. Mary, do you have something to say? Mary, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say something also, but I think that Maggie is saying to stay with the agenda, so that's fine.
All right. We'll talk about it in closed session.
So that the comment out of agenda should not be said. Now something comes and resident here and they don't receive any response. That's not fair.
That's enough. Okay, so we're at the GRF Strategic Planning Committee, Director Casey.
well, that was disbanded, and so I don't think there is a meeting on October 3rd. I was at the GRF meeting, and Debbie Dotson mentioned that it was disbanded at this time.
Okay. That committee is no more?
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
it's, okay, so cross it out. GRF Strategic Planning, no more. Okay. Community Activities Committee, Director Casey.
Yes, so, I don't know, as you might remember, I fell and broke my clavicle. I wasn't at that meeting, so maybe Pearl, were you at the meeting for the CAC? No,
I was.
You were, Maggie, if you could talk about it.
Maggie.
I was, okay. Yes, we heard from Mrs. Giglio, and she gave us everything that Recreation does. We have never had a more complete report, although it has been very complete before. It is even more complete now. We have free movie events scheduled. We're changing the hours of the pools now, and we had some discussion about the pools. The Golf Greens Committee is working great, and we thank GRF for starting that committee up again a couple of years ago. Renovation Ad Hoc Committee is talking about Clubhouse 1 renovations, so that's still on the table. A printing press was offered for donation, and so we accepted that. Let's see, we have a quilting machine for Clubhouse 4, and we're going to accept that donation so they can make beautiful quilts easily that way. And then we had a donation of a baby grand piano for Clubhouse 7, which we looked into because it's quite an old piano. And so we had an expert look at it, and we're going to not accept that donation because the refurbishment and tuning and et cetera, maintenance of that very old piano will be too much for us. The Whale Project in Clubhouse will move from where it was here to Clubhouse 4 Lounge. And let's see, that's all we have. In the future, we'll talk about Performing Arts Center rental fees and some facility operating rules and things like that. So it was a good meeting. Thank you. We meet again the February 9th, which is last week. Which is
No,
last.
they canceled that one. That was canceled.
Okay.
So now the next one.
Okay, so it's the next meeting. Okay, thank you.
Okay. GRF Landscape Director Casey.
Okay, we just had a meeting, and it was a very good meeting, something you should watch too, because it talked about the storm and different things that happened, and it was a very good meeting. And the next one is, we only meet every other month, so we'll be in April.
Okay, thank you. And the next one, GRF Maintenance and Construction, it's Mary Simon. But I think I was at that meeting, but I don't remember anything particular.
So that one, that was in December, and the next one's in April 12th. But the ad hoc for Clubhouse 1, we did meet, and the item that we discussed was when we met on January 24th, the following Monday, 3 or 4 members of the committee plus a couple from staff were going over to the design company to pick out colors. And then they're coming back to us with the colors that they chose. We as a committee had selected colors, but they were going out to finalize what they looked like in the showrooms to see that everything that we had discussed and decided on was good. And so they're coming back to us, and the next meeting is to be determined. We haven't set the date yet.
Okay, thank you. Media and Communications Director Blackwell.
Okay. Okay, we discussed the Communications Committee meeting charter. That's always good to do once a year so that everybody who's new on the committee knows. We had a good report. The What's Up in the Village is doing very well, and the Breeze is well read. And the Breeze can be reread and reread the entire month and maybe the month after. All the schedules and things are in the Breeze. So if people ask you how to touch somebody or get somebody, have them check through the Breeze. They've got mostly just the phone numbers there, but they will get you in touch with almost anywhere. The Broadband Ad Hoc Committee is in working. I'll report on that next. Website Ad Hoc. We're working on a better website. That committee will be meeting on January 31st. Broadband services. Let's Talk Tech is a very good show for people who don't know how to do all their computer and new gizmos. It really tells everything about it. There will be. We had a shortage of rain causing several outages at night during the power outage. 2 technicians worked from 8 to 8, and they came out in the middle of the night to fix the electronic issues. And and we did put out I suggested we put out a how to use your fire extinguisher thing. So they sent me a little film vignette on how to do that. It's very easy, and I think that's been put on the Friday message. So it's very easy, PASS, if you have a fire extinguisher. Very easy. Thank you.
Well, I think website would Yeah, there's like 1 and 2 under.
Oh,
That's Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. President. We canceled that meeting, and the next one is to be announced.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I did want to talk about that one. So that is a very good meeting, and we're looking at a lot of options and things. You know, things are changing in cable. You probably see it on the TV all the time with all of these companies trying to sell you services. And so we're looking at, you know, how is all this going to affect us? And so we're meeting with Eileen and Paul and members from all the different boards and going over our infrastructure and what's heading down the road with cable and also internet, you know, speed. And so it's very interesting, and we've gone over the first option, and now we're going to be heading into the second one, and that's going to be in the next meeting, but it takes a lot of preparation for staff to get that all together. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The committee met on February 1st, 2023. It was very productive committee and lots of questions raised by directors so that residents assured that we are reading everything on behalf of you. First, in the committee, VMS staff present 3 styles of transportation, which is the first one is a fixed route, which is by bus. And please, I am asking residents use that one because some member came and complained these buses is going around empty and wasting the money. So I hope residents start to using the buses more often. And number 2 is a Laguna Wood Village journey, which is curb to curb, especially for those people that needs medical needs. And number 3 is Boost, which is on demand and is partnership with Lyft. So we have 3 styles that residents can use. Also, there was a motion that was passed to for buying 2 vans for $278,000 and 1 Ford for $45,000. However, a motion comes to buy 10 Ford for $347,000, and the motion unanimously by all directors was tabled to bring more information because we couldn't find in the presentation enough information to pass. So the table was unanimous by all 7. The same unanimous table was when they staff asked for 2 vans for $278. Again, information was not enough. So we asked to table that one until information comes. So in that case, the next meeting, although is April 5th, but be aware that we might have a special meeting if this information comes before that. And definitely I'll bring information for you as a summary. Thank you.
Security and Community Access Committee, Director Blackwell.
I don't have that report in my file, do you? No. Okay.
H, Security and Community Access.
Yes, okay,
The
we can go
report
to
is
I.
not included in the package.
Okay, I.
Well, they haven't met for some time. The next meeting is February 27th.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to Laguna Woods Village Traffic Hearings, Director Akrakar.
I'm sorry to say I didn't get any information on the package, so I don't have.
That's
anything
not
to
going to
offer
be
right
displayed
now.
in the packet because it's closed. It's kind of like a closed matter. You don't
Right.
talk about each case.
Okay.
So
Just announce this next.
Okay, the next
Meeting.
is Report of the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Director Liberatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This committee is kind of like overlooked, but they're the ones that we used to have prepared for the worst and hope for the best. And this committee is really involved in making sure that when the big one comes or the fire comes, that people will be attended to and we'll have foodstuffs. It's really a good committee and something that when the bad one comes, these people will have us prepared. And our next meeting on this disaster preparedness is on March 28th, and it's well to attend one of them, just to get you tuned in to what can happen or what you should do if we have something really bad happen. One of these senseless agents of change. Thank you.
So is there, on that, just real brief, is there something that we could be presenting to our residents on what happens if there's a big earthquake?
I think that would be a really worthwhile endeavor, because we're doing the planning as the committee, but I don't think the residents, I don't think we're communicating to them.
Okay.
But this committee is working at it, but if something happens, what do I do, you know?
Right. Okay. Information Technology, Director Casey.
Yeah, so we met in January, probably 2 weeks ago, and got an update from the consulting team, which was very informative on the progress they're making, going over each module and things that that they need to get finished, and all the the involvement of the staff. They have had like 90 meetings, and Chuck and Director Hopkins and Director Carpenter, add so much to the process. So it's a very good meeting, and it's to be announced, so it's like every couple of weeks.
Okay. And last is Compliance Ad Hoc, Director Blackwell.
Yes, we had a very good meeting, January 27th. GRF will create their own anti-harassment hearing board for anything that happens on GRF property. The hearing board will address incidents on GRF property, and it will be defined where is GRF property. They will have their own executive hearings committee, and they will create a resolution and charter for the Executive Hearings Committee, and there will be 3 directors plus 1 alternative. They will set up their own disciplinary process, and they will set schedule of monetary penalties to include these behaviors or disturbances: assault, theft, trespassing, yelling, fighting, whatever, under harassment, abuse, intimidation, restrictions, which often happen in clubhouses outside and on the golf course. So those will be handled, and when you're off on GRF property, be a good person, because we will have hearings, and they do have a plan. They will include the appeal policy, the nuisance policy, harassment, disciplinary violations, a schedule of monetary penalties, and executive hearings and rules. And we will meet again February 17th, which is not too far away.
Okay, thank you. We're going to recess at this point. Yeah, sure.
Because Siobhan might need to. It does say on this schedule, I think, that there was an insurance ad hoc, but that was canceled. Can you see that crossed off in?
Yeah, the insurance ad hoc is no more. That's got canceled, yeah. Okay, we're going to recess and start our closed session, try to start it around 1:45. So this meeting is adjourned.